And you're welcome back to Off the Ball Saturday here on News Talk. John Duggan with you 3 to 5 this evening. This is Football Saturday. Remember, football and Off the Ball brought to you by Sky. Get all the football you love in one place across Sky Sports, BT Sport and Premier Sports. You can text us 53106. Tweet us at Off the Ball. Liverpool have scored. Luis Diaz,
not even had our
first
yet,
minute.
JD.
Liverpool 1, Bournemouth 0.
It's a cross from the right. It was a bit like the winner.
He hasn't even introduced the guests yet.
The broadcaster and journalist Johnny Ward.
Let's be clear, that's the broadcaster and journalist Johnny Ward, just in case you're not sure.
Of the Galway United UCD game last night where I literally missed the last goal because it was such a freak.
Quicker reference to that than the Liverpool goal.
We were just starting the show, but cross into the box. Diaz is pretty free and he just bullet header into the top right corner. He's a brilliant addition to a Liverpool team that looks a little bit shaky at the moment.
Looks onside.
Yeah.
We also have Dan McDonnell
with the cross
of the Irish Independent here, and the Cove Ramblers manager Shane Keegan. Shane, great to see you back in the studio again.
Yeah, I think he's offside actually.
Missed these interactions. Johnny taking
What
over the
a header!
show.
What a
Will
header!
it stand? It might not stand. It might not stand. He's possibly off.
Maybe off.
When they showed it there and still there.
I always say to everybody every single week, because we're watching this in the box, we're subject to VAR checks here.
It's Firmino with the cross as well after Salah was blocked.
Oh, it's a lovely header.
Happy there from the journalist and broadcaster.
Yeah,
the broadcaster and journalist. The broadcaster comes first before the journalist.
Why do broadcasters come before journalists?
Well, we have to protect our own turf.
This rings better, doesn't it? It just sounds better in fairness.
Yeah. So Man United beat Southampton 1-0. This is going to VAR. We'll let you know, folks.
His shoulders off.
This is the soul of football being destroyed as we take out the line. He's onside. Luis Diaz has scored 1-0 for Liverpool against Bournemouth. Other games at 3 o'clock: Brentford, Everton, Brighton, Leeds, Chelsea, Leicester, Man City, Crystal Palace, and at 5:30 Arsenal, the leaders, against Fulham. You're welcome, Shane.
Thank you very much.
Back into
Good to
the
be
studio.
back.
And this is a labour of love now, what you're doing at Cove Ramblers, because it must be. You must have a PA for all the time that's required and everything.
That's a fair old spin, all right, so it is. But look, if you look at any of the drive, like when the thing with living in Laois, John, is you're an hour and a half from everywhere, but no more than an hour and a half from anywhere. So it's kind of just about a commutable distance to pretty much vast majority of parts of
Laois estate agent pitch. That definitely sounds like a Laois. That's definitely.
But I live. I'm lucky in that where I live is just at where the Limerick and Cork motorway split. So I'm 5 minutes off the Limerick motorway. I'm 5 minutes off the Cork motorway. So of an hour and it takes me about an hour and 35 to get down to Cove. Literally an hour and 30 of that is on the motorway. So it's very, very handy in that respect. But no, enjoying it. I mean, I've said before, you're talking about a fella who kind of grew up playing Championship Manager and all that, rather than a fella who grew up playing high level football. So when you get to live it out in reality, it's very, very, very enjoyable.
I think, JD, the big thing for Shane Keegan is that his former club Galway United are helping him in the sense that Cork City are going to win the league, and if you're the manager of Cove Ramblers, you want Cork City to be doing well, because Cork City have resources and they will send out players on loan to Cove, or certainly did in the past, and there's a lot of good talent in the south coast, and I could see why Shane took the job, because not many jobs are available in the League of Ireland anymore.
No, there's not. And look, while Johnny's statement is correct,
2-0 to Liverpool. Brilliant goal from Harvey Elliott. 5 minutes gone.
I'm watching Mark Travers here, just like diving to the side. No chance with the first header. No chance with the second goal. I was like, I had a piece about Mark Travers today. He's actually had a very good start to the season, and yet he's conceded, 9 goals now or something like that. And I mean,
this could be
being the Bournemouth goalkeeper is a tough gig,
and it will be a tough gig.
It's going to be a tough gig this season, and it's mad to be able to do that and have your reputation arguably enhanced as he has, despite being turned over by Man City a couple of weeks ago. We were watching him here doing something similar to this. And the Arsenal game as well, and this one too.
This kid is a talent, Dan.
He's a super player. I was commenting last week, I thought even when they were bet the other night against United, I thought he was very, very good. But I thought he was brilliant in the handful of games he got before that bad injury last year as well. He really is a brilliant player.
Oh,
that's
just
a great
swept
strike,
into the corner. Beautiful goal for Liverpool. 2-0 against Bournemouth.
Is this the point where we put a black line through our agenda? Liverpool's struggles was one of the things we were to talk about, was it?
Well, this is the most confidence boosting game they can have at Anfield against the team that are going to be 20th at the end of the season.
Terrific strike.
They've been poor in their 3 games up to now, and I thought against Man United, considering all the possession they had, they didn't actually deserve to get anything out of the game, and I just thought in their midfield really it was Milner,
Henderson,
and obviously Harvey Elliott. Like it's not the most inspiring, as much as Elliott's going to be a very good player. We had Kenny Cunningham on the night, and he was of the opinion that Henderson has definitely regressed, and like Milner's 36. So Man United had were able to break quickly, and you do think Liverpool are pretty much already out of the title race, to be honest.
Of the three that were in last week's midfield, Harvey Elliott is the one who will, I think, will end up in it as the season goes on, because I think Henderson
Fabinho's back in the team today.
Thiago injured as well.
I don't think they can declare them out of the title race, Johnny. If they're out of it, then there isn't one apart from what I know the Spurs boys are here, but like, do you know what I mean? Like, you can't say that after 3-4 games. Otherwise, what's the point?
Did you say that?
What's the point of our existence?
They're out of the title race.
Wouldn't be like
it's not even September.
Wouldn't be like
it's not
Johnny.
even September, and Liverpool, they're out of it. They're gone. Like, it's like
they're going to drop too many points
in the Johnny Ward Olympics.
No, but I kind of get what Johnny said. Like, you need 90 to 100 points to win this Premier League.
Not this season, I don't think.
You don't think so?
In a Qatar season, did you see the fixture schedules that have been put out there?
I booked my flight to Frankfurt 5 minutes after Jack Pitt-Brook put out the fixture list.
Who's getting like? I mean, Man City possibly can do.
Spurs have 9 games in October.
But like it's
a health and safety.
14 games in 43 days was what Jack Pitt-Brook put up. I counted them up.
But like
crimes against humanity.
Like clubs that are in Europe, like Shamrock Rovers' schedule is going to be nuts. Like in that period of time as well. I think a game every 3 or 4 days. This is all Qatar related. That's what it's about, So no one was willing to cede any ground. Like the Premier League didn't want to cede any ground around Qatar. The Champions League is still running a full year. Trying to. There was at one point they were talking about maybe putting some group games in January or something like that. That hasn't happened. So this is the inevitable consequence of it. A lot of people are up in the air going, "Oh, it's just terrible," but no one was willing to stand back and say, from a player welfare point of view, well, then let's do something different this year. Let's sacrifice our Boxing Day games as it would be in England or whatever, which is another sort of factor in this.
That's the first game back.
No one's willing to. It's the first game back, but like I could you have change the schedule at the other end, or I don't know. There was no obvious solution. As long as if you're going to do a 34 game Premier League season and just let someone not play, 4 clubs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can't do that. But like when you put Qatar in the calendar, this was the byproduct of it. So I understand people are looking at the fixture list today and saying this is crazy, but I mean that was always going to be the case.
Yeah. So Joe Gordon's, Mulled and Ghent for Shamrock Rovers. 53106. How boring Liverpool all day long. There are other teams. Well, they have scored twice. We're on air in the first 5 minutes, to be fair. There's a drinking game where you take a sip every time Johnny mentions Galway United.
Jesus.
I mean, you'd be out in your
fairly well on by the end of the show. Right?
It could be drinking tea, could be drinking,
I know, it doesn't matter what it is. Exactly. You just if you have an overactive bladder, you're in a bit of bother.
It's been a disappointing season.
He's off again.
Yet.
Like Shane is here, like talking about, like Shane hasn't been here since, as he said, since he's got the Cove job. Is like management basically an addiction? Once you get into
100%.
Like once you get in,
absolutely.
once you're in the game and you're out of it, are you antsy? Because you're like, yeah.
Because inevitably, why are you out of the game? You're out of the game because you got the sack, because your last job didn't go well. So you need to get back in the game to prove that you're better at this than the people who just actually thought you were. And like that's it. You're obviously I had the Dundalk experience in between now in Galway, but I wasn't, everybody knows I wasn't a manager there. Whereas now I'm back being the manager in own rights, back, chance to prove a point. Like, sacked by Galway, we've Galway in 2 weeks' time. Looking forward to that one. Like, naturally enough.
It's just like a sheepskin coat the day before the press conference.
How many sound nights sleep would you reckon you've had since you've gone back into it? Have you been okay, or is it still?
I've been okay because I've been in a lucky enough situation whereby there's no relegation from the division, JD. So like
you can build for next season.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Like the brief I was given was, go in, try and get performances up a bit, but really it's all about next season because there was no relegation there. And to be fair, like my first 3 games in weren't great, and they weren't great purely because of me, because I was going into a group of players that, being quite honest about it, I didn't know any of them. Like you're still watching the league, but you're watching the Premier Division for media purposes. You're watching the Premier Division and that kind of stuff. So I was well off in terms of knowledge of the the Cove setup. So you're going in and you're effectively treating real live league games as pre-season games. Because I had to try this and try that and get to know him and get to know that. And then once we got the first 3 out of the way and you're chopping and changing a little bit, and once you've got a feel for fellas, now you've got a settled starting 11, the settled formation and all that. Of our 6 games since then, 5 of the 6 have been really, really good performances.
Where do the players that are Cove come from? Is it junior football in Cork? Is it?
Yeah, primarily, yeah. Obviously, the Munster Senior League down there would be very, very strong. So it would. So, yeah, like we actually, because we had no game this weekend because we're out of the FAI Cup, we actually played 2 practice matches this week. So we would have played Mayfield Wednesday night, and we played College Corinthians last night. We also played Rockmount in the Munster Senior Cup. So you're getting to see, like Joe Gamble, who the lads would know, was over College Corinthians last night. So he was very, very good side, you know, very, very good. We beat them 4-2, but they gave us a right good rattle of it. So the standard of player down there is quite good. So yeah, you're either producing your own or you're looking around. I mean, you'd be pulling from Cork, Kerry.
Because the thing about it, Munster didn't have a representative in the Premier Division this season. Is the quality of young player good in that region?
Well, I suppose to expand on Johnny's point, like, yeah, a huge thing for Cove, and, you know, there's no real way of buttering it up, a huge thing for Cove is taking Cork City's cast-offs. You know,
not even cast-offs, like players that are young and need to develop, like.
Yeah, 100%. You know, like, we'd have a young guy there, say, just to pick one, say the likes of a guy called Luke Desmond, you know, and I come in and I'm looking at Luke Desmond and going, Jesus, this young fella is a super player. Like, how did Cork not give him a contract at the end of last season? And then you're talking to Healy, and Healy's saying, yeah, look, he's very, very good, but, you know, there's still a little bit of growth here, there's still a little bit of growth there in his game, and the simple fact is, would he have started regularly for us this year or even seen regular game time? No. So, you know, Johnny's hitting it. We do need Cork to go up, because we don't want Cork shopping in the same supermarket as us, if that makes sense. If Galway could make a balls of it and allow Waterford to go up as well, all the better again for us, because again they're within our area, and again we would like a situation where Waterford and Cork's best under 19 players are not able to break through to their team, so they're coming over in our direction. That supplements the players that we're producing from our own under 19 setup, which thankfully there is a really good underage setup at Cove, so that gives you a hell of a chance as well. So it does, you know.
As well as that, JD, like your last result in the league was a 2-2 draw in Wexford. That's the result that Dundalk got last night in the Cup in Wexford. Like, there's a bit of depth to the First Division. There are some good players there, and like watching, I was in Turner's Cross lately, and like it was the best atmosphere I've seen at a League of Ireland game all season. It was unbelievable, like, and Cork has so much talent, and Cove, I think, can prosper from that as well.
Look, I think they'll be a fantastic addition back to the Premier Division.
And come here, were like, family-wise, were they up for you to go back into it? Because they know how sort of draining it can be once you're in the zone. Yeah,
well, I suppose at the moment I'm kind of in good form because we're putting in good performances, and it's not the end of the world. If you look, like, I'm in a strange position at the moment, JD, where I would take a performance over points, because the points don't really mean anything to us. We are going to finish where we are, pretty much nailed on to finish where we are, regardless of how things go. So, like, we were good in the second half against Wexford, but by and large we were second best against Wexford. Okay, so I'm coming away from that going, how do we bridge the gap to get to Wexford? Now, we took a point from it, okay, but then last week we played Cork and we lost the game 2-1, but we were the better team.
Really?
Yeah, oh, absolutely, without a doubt, the better team against Cork. And so I'm looking at that and going, Jesus, there's real positive signs. So you're actually taking more from the performance than the points. But no, look, Dan's, you know, fingers in a few pies, so yeah. I had to give up 3 gigs to take on the Cove gig. Like, I was managing Portlaois's Leinster Senior League team, so for the first time in 4 years I'm not managing them. How did he miss that?
John Stone's own goal, so Crystal Palace 1-0 up away to Manchester City.
Wow, this should have been 3-0.
This is a horrendous miss, Mo.
I don't know if you've seen this move. Again, Elliot involved. This is absolute champagne football from Liverpool, and it was a shot. I think it was Elliott with the shot. He mishit it, and Salah just couldn't convert from about 2 yards.
This is an absolute sitter.
Watch this
watching
football,
the replay back here now. That's super football.
He
went with his wrong foot, didn't he? Stretch with his left instead of going with his right.
He didn't mean to cross it, Elliott.
But yeah, I would have had to give up the
No, he didn't mean to cross it. He actually meant to cross that. He gave the look. That was an amazing cross, and Salah should have scored.
The Portlaoise Leinster Senior League gig, and then obviously the Academy gig with Treaty, and I was dovetailing with Mr. Johnny Ward over there in the corner every Friday night for Late Night League of Ireland, which seems to have disappeared off the landscape since I went into Cove as well. So
we'll get it back. Goals in the Championship: Reading 1-0 away to Millwall. It is Middlesbrough 1, Swansea 0, Hull 1, Coventry 0, Huddersfield 1, West Brom 0, Blackpool 1, Bristol City 0. Earlier on, Andrew Umabamidele in the Norwich team that won 1-0 away to Sunderland. 53106 for your texts. Why can't you talk, get professional, neutral presenters like other radio stations, says CJ in Galway. Don't know what you mean, CJ. Been at this a long time. Lads.
And I'll be at it for a long time more,
well,
CJ.
that's up to other people.
I assume they're accusing you of being a Liverpool fan there when
Look,
you're not. Like,
I get accused of
I'm not a
everything.
fan of any Premier League team, to be clear. So
I get accused of everything.
Fine, yeah.
We're Spurs. We're the Spurs mafia in here today. Lads, Patter, Arsenal fan from Donegal. How are you, Patter? Why could teams not play 60 minutes or 70 minutes this year with the World Cup, especially either side of the tournament? I think it might be a bit of a difficult one to...
like a live golf event. It doesn't count. There's no
Patter's
cut.
definitely taking this.
We're in a live free zone here. We were asking because of Kieran Trippier. I was just love watching the highlights of that Newcastle Man City game.
What a game.
It was like, you know, stuff from the schoolyard, you know, like, and Kieran Trippier's free kick. I was going, that's fantastic stuff, you know. And we're just asking people about their favourite free kicks in football because we had favourite strikers last week. So Messi's free kick in the semi-final against Liverpool, the best of all time when you take into account the stage, the opposition, the goalkeeper. Somebody mentions Roberto Carlos. I think it was from 1997. That was.
Le Tournois.
That's got to be the pick, the GOAT.
And Elano for Man City against Newcastle 07-08, outrageous free kick. Mine obviously would be Gascoigne's in
100%. Yeah.
That fateful game, JD.
It was, yeah. The last one, and then there's the final that he did his knee, wasn't it? So,
It's one of my earliest memories actually of a football game was that.
Same with myself, yeah. It would have been one of the first times my dad took me to a pub to watch a game, I think, to be honest.
the pub crisps and the Club Orange as Liverpool nearly score a
Travis,
third.
good save.
It was a good save. So Gavin Bazunu did well in the first half, but they ultimately lost to Manchester United, Southampton today. But he's got his place in the team, and looks like he's going to stay there.
Oh no, I think so. Yeah, I mean, I think probably Southampton made such a big move from at the start of pre-season that it was probably clear that they made a big pitch. I would have done a piece with Bazunu around July, and I think Hasenhüttl and the goalkeeping coach, there's like some new staff behind the scenes there. And there was a feeling he would play, I think, or there was that sense he was probably going to play as much as no one would say it. And I can't see them changing him now. You know, like yes, I think there's a danger that you're probably watching. You know, you're probably invested in these guys doing well, that every goal they concede is like...
The Leicester goal, the free kick.
Yeah, and like that was a bad one. Like, and there will be bad ones too. And like Gavin Bazunu had a season before at Rochdale, who were down the bottom of League One and conceded loads of goals. And because he was in one of the weakest teams in the division. I know Southampton had a good win last week, but it's still more likely than not that they're going to be in the bottom 5-6. So in the Premier League, he's going to concede a lot of goals this season. There will be tough days. Today, you know, the Fernandes strike caught first time well. I don't think he'd be featuring in the analysis of that goal really. His distribution was good today. This is the thing, like that. You know, he's very much sort of the modern goalkeeper. In the sense that he can't be. You just can't be a Premier League goalkeeper now without being good with your feet. Like that's just
like De Gea.
Like, well, I mean, you know, you can unless you've an outstanding pedigree, but then the next 20-year-old De Gea has to be that good with his feet, if you know what I mean. And there was a couple of times today you could see there was even probably a bit of a tactic that they were trying to use Bazunu to try and go long and maybe test Martinez in the air a bit and try and get in behind once or twice, and didn't necessarily come off. But I mean, he is such a probably confident presence, Bazunu, that even if he ever was nervous, I'm not sure if he ever shows it in terms of how he sort of carries himself in his demeanour on the pitch. But it looks like with him and one or two of the younger players as well, that they've also been playing outfield, that they're probably committed to sort of persevering with them and giving them a chance. So I think there's no doubt he'll be in the Premier League for the long haul. Absolutely no shot of a doubt.
The Irish calibre of goalkeepers and centre backs is, I mean, it's actually insane how good we could be. Like, it really is. And to talk about building a team from that.
Wigan 0, Burnley 1, Watford 0, QPR 1 in the Championship. So Man United, like, they left Ronaldo out again today, 68 minutes he came on. Maguire was on the bench. Casemiro came on with 10 minutes to go. But should they cut their losses on this pair, Ronaldo and Maguire? Because you can see the energy the other night. Elanga, you pick the same team. Malacia, Sancho, Rashford, you can see the energy, and they got the job done again today.
Yeah, well, you have to hand it to him. He knows his own mind, that's for sure. I mean,
he has to.
I would imagine is it the first time Ronaldo has ever been in his career left out for back-to-back games when fully fit? Like, it's a big move. It's a big call, and
but it's logical, Shane. Like,
oh, it is logical. But yet, Johnny, the only way you're going to get away with it is winning.
Yeah.
Like, as soon as he's left out and they're not winning, now all hell breaks loose again. So the fact that he's won the 2 games allows him to double down. It reminds me of Arteta last year when he kind of ostracised Aubameyang. You know, he went on a winning run at that time, so it was seen as the right move. Everton again is seen through the prism of the results. But like, I only saw the first half today. I was listening to commentary of the second half. Like, I don't think they were wonderful, but they got the result, and obviously at the moment that's all that matters. But I think some of the recruits have been good. The left back looks very impressive. I thought he was very, very good against Liverpool. Sorry, and for all the jokes about his height, Martinez has been good.
He looks like a potential cult hero, doesn't he? Like, 'cause he's just this all-action yet small centre back who, like, he was in Liverpool's faces and exactly what they need, really.
You know who he reminds me of, actually, with the lack of height but the leaps like a salmon? It's Raf Cartaro, isn't it?
Yeah.
5 foot nothing, but out jumps a fella who's 6'3". He's got a great leap on him, because as Dan says, they were maybe trying to exploit him in the air today, and I don't think it got them anywhere. He's actually got a super leap on him for a small fella. But yeah, no, look, it's. I don't think they'll make Champions League. I don't think they'll do as badly as the first 2 games suggested, but I don't think they'll make Champions League either.
The whole bottom half thing is probably dead now. That whole thing.
Seventh, eighth.
Reactions.
53106. Little less arrogance from the team would be good. None of you are irreplaceable, and careful who's listening. Respect your listeners and lose the baggage. Look, we respect every single listener to the show. We are having fun. We respect every single listener. We wouldn't have a show without the listeners. So
every listener, would you respect?
Absolutely. Even the ones that might be on the fence at times. 53106. Ian Hart against Andorra. Some free same day as Beckham's free kick against Greece. Hearts was definitely better. So Shane and Kildare. Great free kicks, Ernie Hunt for Coventry against Wolves. I think that's when he flicked it over the back of his head and put it in. Solution for this season would have been to split the table at halfway point of 19 games, then the top half play each other once, and the same in the bottom half, 28 game season, says Garrett. Look at them again, nothing's going to change now, that's the thing.
What about the Glenn Hoddle free? Remember the Hoddle one roll back to when he just flicks it up and...
Oh yeah, I remember that one.
That was a beaut as well, wasn't it?
No, Glenn Hoddle. And we have matches at 3 o'clock. Any more goals in the Premier League? I don't think so. We do have one for Everton away to Brentford.
Big game today for them, JD.
Yeah, and there was an important goal that they scored for Damari Gray against Nottingham Forest last week. And this one has come from Anthony Gordon, the man who's been linked with Chelsea. And we've got a second goal for Crystal Palace against Manchester City. Now, they beat them last season, and now Joachim Andersen has scored a second goal, so...
Title race over.
Here we are, Johnny.
How's that going over there?
I stand by what I said. But
where will Liverpool finish, Johnny?
That's a tough one, because, like, I expected Arsenal to do well this season, but could you say Spurs or Chelsea have been overly impressive so far? I mean, I think Liverpool will struggle to finish second this season.
No, I think they'll finish second, alright. I'd find it hard to...
So you're basically saying there is no title race this season?
I don't think there is, no. Unless Man City, just completely collapse. But no, I don't think there is. And the two things, one, they've Haaland, and two, De Bruyne is back at his best, so...
Oh, yeah. I don't think it's over yet.
I mean, there's not much point to our existence if we're saying it's over after 3 games.
Exactly. This is sort of my angle.
What did you make of Man United the other night in terms of the possession that they had? Because they won the game with, 30% possession?
And this, I suppose, this is probably the dilemma that Ten Hag wants, is that I think he wants to be a possession team, and I think the players he has are better suited to being a counter-attacking team. So,
but they were very effective the way they played.
Absolutely, it was 100% the right approach to take. But I suppose they're not going to come up against too many teams that are going to come on to them as much as that. So even if they are suited to it, that's been the United problem, hasn't it? You know, if teams don't come on to them, can they figure out a way to beat them? And I suppose, the bit of cuteness that Ericsson has added maybe might be a help there. But I mean, the big one really, lads, is that Fernandes looks himself again now that Ronaldo's out of the team, isn't it?
Yeah, scored again today, and they won the game 1-0. 53106 for your text messages. The only thing Arsenal win is a few Twitter polls. Hi lads, the Ronaldinho goal against England at the 2002 World Cup, pure opportunity, says Shane. And Cavan, I think David Seaman had a bit of a trouble with that one, didn't he? Everybody goes on about the Gascoigne free kick against Arsenal in the semi-final of the FA Cup, but it was a brilliant free kick. But what about Stuart Pearce's effort in the final after Gascoigne's fell? As John Giles said at the time, what a wallop, says Niall in Dublin. Well, they lost the game, I suppose that's why it's not remembered as much as...
What active Premier League player has the most free kick goals? A currently active Premier League player has the most goals from free kick. He's second on the all-time list.
Oh, second on the all-time list.
Second on the all-time list.
I was going to say it was something like Ward Prowse or something.
Correct,
like Oh, was it really?
Yeah.
Well, Matty's second on the all-time list now.
Yeah, second behind Beckham, yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Pretty amazing stuff.
Just the bad thing about, if you are saying about the title race, Man City have conceded 5 goals in, a little over a game and a half. against Newcastle and Palace.
It's all done and dusted.
That's the
Which
point.
is a bit mad when you think about it.
You're sort of starting to argue with yourself a small bit here.
They were 6-1 on today and they're 2-0 down. There we go. So we'll see what happens. I stand by it. You can play this over at the end of the season.
It's like all collateral form. Suddenly, like Liverpool's draw at home to Palace, like they're gaining a point on Man City if it finishes that way. Now, City are probably still going to launch some kind of comeback here to sort of like they are. There's a couple of times like last year at West Ham and even against Newcastle, like they go behind
against Villa.
Yeah, at Villa. I mean, sorry, there's the most obvious one. That they do have the ability to do it. But it sort of makes you regret that Liverpool Bournemouth's on the telly now. Like, you know what I mean?
Palace are a good team. Like Vieira, like, you're talking about like Gerrard and Lampard and Rodgers. Rodgers probably not in the conversation, but Vieira's proven himself as manager of Palace with that team. And they beat City last season and they took a point off them as well.
He's done a great job.
And some people feared he was going to be a disaster as well.
Yeah.
What a strike.
3-0 to Liverpool now, and this is from Trent Alexander-Arnold
Who's
against
probably
Bournemouth.
not had a great season so far defensively, JD.
Should be a wing back, shouldn't he? Shouldn't be in a 4.
Somebody texted in during the week asking Kenny Cunningham what about playing in midfield, which I think he'd be a very competent midfielder, but Liverpool use him more for his attacking prowess as a right back, and he's almost redefined the role of the right back. This strike is just...
I don't know. I've seen the counterpoint to the midfield thing that would he have the positional awareness to adapt to it?
Well, he kind of goes in there anyway, doesn't he? I mean, he's, the old full-back. Like, look where he is here now. Look, front, like, pretty much bang on centre midfield.
Gives the ball away, gets it back, quick 1-2.
Don't back off him. Don't back off him.
When you see a goal like that, this is the mad thing.
A lot of people aren't seeing this, but it's like it's a 25-yarder, right footer into the top corner. No chance for Travers, completely beating all ends up again.
If you did a social experiment, right, where Jurgen Klopp has said, you have to play Trent Alexander as a number 10 this season, he'd probably score a lot of goals like that, because the quality of that strike is insane. And he just doesn't take that many shots, and he's just such a good footballer. What a player.
He's the complete footballer, apart from being able to defend in right-back situations.
Should they not change the formation, maybe, no?
For one player, For one player, if I know, like obviously aside, the teams are going to target and try and exploit them on it as
happened in the Champions League final.
Yeah, like
you see, Salah has to play where Salah is, right? So for them to change formation, it has to be 3-4-3. That would allow Trent to play right of the 4, and Salah could still be right of the 3. But have Liverpool got 2 centre midfielders good enough to just cope with 2 bodies in there? I doubt it.
Yeah.
So in theory it makes sense, but when you play it out, how do you change the formation to accommodate it?
But he is suspect defensively. We saw that Mitrovic in the first game, Fulham the other night against United.
He's not a defender.
The video of him for the Jadon Sancho goal it is embarrassing.
Bad.
It is. He has to be looking at that and be very embarrassed with himself. Like the fact that he switches off when the pass is played and then just makes no attempt to recover his position is what allows Sancho to turn back from the original direction he was going and have all the time in the world to pick the bottom corner. Like, he makes a late burst to try and dig himself out, but by that stage it's too late. But it's just needs to, I don't know, he just needs to develop his defensive. I don't think he's that interested in defending, for want of a better way of putting it.
We got to take a break. 5-3-106 on Football Saturday with Shane Keegan, the Cove Ramblers manager, in studio with Dan McDonnell of the Irish Independent and Johnny Ward. Just going to go through some of the scores in the Premier League and the Championship. So we've got a third goal, as we know, for Liverpool. Trent Alexander-Arnold after Harvey Elliott got the second goal there. And who was the first goal? It was in the first minute, wasn't it? It was Diaz.
Diaz,
the first
4-0.
That long ago. And it is now 4-0. And this is from Roberto Firmino.
Are we getting into the realms of what was the biggest Premier League scoreline? There's 4 goals in half an hour.
Is it?
Man United,
Ipswich was 9-0. Was there?
I had
Southampton Leicester a couple of years ago as well.
Yeah.
There might be a VAR on this as well.
Scott Parker looking pretty disconsolate on the sideline there. Liverpool 4, Bournemouth 0 after half an hour of their Premier League game.
How many goals to have them back in the title race, Johnny? Would you
14 maybe?
How much do City have to get bet by at the same time?
At 14 he might review his position.
You don't want Travers, in fairness, to be like the keeper who let in, but like 4 goals in half an hour would be 12 in 90 minutes if that's well onside. So that's
it's actually a Bournemouth player who plays the pass, is it?
You'd have to have sympathy for Travers. This is
he's caught on his line maybe a small, but they're not anticipating what was going to happen.
It's a fluke though. I mean, it just bounces. Yeah. He's probably half given up as well, to be fair.
Liverpool 4, Bournemouth 0 on Off the Ball Saturday on News Talk. We're back after this break with the lads.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky. New boys Nottingham Forest face Spurs on Super Sunday. Live only on Sky Sports.
Future-proof.
You know, we talk a lot, but where did it come from? This magic ability to take an idea in our head, turn it into sound, and then pass it through the medium of air to somebody else who can then understand what we were thinking just by decoding those noises. On this week's Future Proof, we're doing a special on language, where it came from, what it did to us as a species, and whether or not we're the only ones speaking in the universe.
Future-proof.
Proudly supported by Science Foundation Ireland.
That's Future Proof this Sunday from 10 with me, Jonathan McRae, on News Talk.
Looking for a great value break in Ireland this summer? GoBreaks.ie will find the best hotel deals for you from just €95 per night.
Go Breaks. Hi, I'm Ken Doherty, and when I need car insurance, I contact the specialists at insuremycars.ie. Their team always finds me the best policy at the lowest price and with all the benefits I need. If your car insurance is up for renewal, visit insuremycars.ie.
City Financial Marketing Group Limited, trading as insuremycars.ie, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Guaranteed Irish business members continue to sustain jobs and communities across Ireland.
Pipelife Eco, Ireland's leading designer and supplier of thousands of renewable heating solutions. Established in 1970, Pipelife Eco is your one-stop shop for complete renewable heating solutions. From market-leading products, free initial advice, through to bespoke design, final commissioning and technical support. To find out more, visit their website www.pipelifeeco.ie. So look out for the G, guaranteedirish.ie. All together better.
Stuck for space and want to save? At Harvey Norman, get great savings today on large capacity fridges and fridge freezers, like the Samsung fridge freezer with SpaceMax technology. Now €1179, save €520. Keep food fresher for longer with the LG Nature Fresh fridge freezer. Now €1499, save €350. With up to 18 months interest-free finance terms available. Harvey Norman, your home appliance specialists.
Go! Subject to credit assessment and approval. Fees, T's and C's apply. See harveynorman.ie/finance.
This is the Advantage card from On Post Commerce. This saves your business €3 on every parcel you send. This is a way to help your business grow and thrive by cutting your costs and boosting your revenue. This is e-commerce for everyone. Get your Advantage card free at onpost.com today or at your local post office. On Post Commerce, a world closer. Terms and conditions apply.
Need ink, toner or office supplies in a hurry? Shop local at 123ink.ie. Printers, paper, post-its, pens, batteries in a panic? Shop local at 123ink.ie.
Challenge yourself with Audi Rewards. Simply download the Audi Connect Plug and Play app to test yourself with driving challenges, collect points along the route and reach new levels to redeem attractive rewards. Visit your local Audi dealer for complimentary Audi data plug installation and start your challenge today. Find out more at audi.ie/rewards. Terms and conditions apply.
This week at Super Value, we've got amazing offers to help you save, like Super Value Fresh Irish Sirloin Steak, better than half price. Kylie Minogue Sauvignon Blanc, save 33%. And don't forget, with Super Value's unbeatable own brand range, along with money off vouchers every week, Super Value makes saving money as easy as
1, 2, 3, go!
Enjoy alcohol responsibly.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky. Watch Wolves take on Newcastle on Super Sunday. Live only on Sky Sports.
And welcome back to Off the Ball Saturday here on News Talk. John Duggan with you to 5. We've got Shane Keegan, the Co-Ramblers manager, in studio with us this afternoon, with Dan McDonnell of the Irish Independent and the broadcaster and journalist Johnny Ward. Remember, Football and Off the Ball brought to you by Sky. Get all the football you love in one place across Sky Sports, BT Sport and Premier Sports. You can text us 53106, tweet us at Off the Ball. You can listen on News Talk, and we're also streaming the conversation across the digital and social channels for Periscope and Twitter at Off the Ball, YouTube, Facebook and on the OTB Sports app. In the Premier League, Liverpool 4, Bournemouth 0. So Liverpool absolutely cruising, and good goals as well today. Trent Alexander-Arnold getting the third one, Roberto Firmino the fourth, after strikes from Luis Diaz and Harvey Elliott. It is Brentford 0, Everton 1. Anthony Gordon for the Toffees, a crucial goal for them. Earlier on, Bruno Fernandes scored for Manchester United away to Southampton. Brighton 0, Leeds 0. Manchester City 0, Crystal Palace 2. So an own goal from John Stones and a goal from Joachim Anderson. And Conor Gallagher has been sent off for Chelsea against Leicester at Stamford Bridge. Shane Keegan, the second sending off in a week.
Yeah, it would be an interesting day if results stay going the way they are. That's for sure. It'd be great for Spurs as well. But yeah, Chelsea, I don't know. It's hard to know what to make of them. I mean, they were well better against us, John, truth be told. I mean, how Spurs managed to get a draw on that one, I don't know, but like comprehensively beaten last week. So if they they're going to do very well to take anything from a game now down to 10 as early as that.
Need a striker as well.
They do, yeah. Who are they been linked with?
Everybody.
Fair enough. No, they're very close to completing somebody, are they?
Apparently it's stalled. Really, contracts, but Fofana is going to happen.
Fofana is going to happen,
It seems not involved for Leicester again today. Might be that Tuchel hasn't worked enough with the players that he's brought in. A lot of players have come into the team, like Kukureya, Koulibaly, Gallagher, who's just been sent off. Sterling's come in. Obviously, he started well, but...
Yeah, see, it goes back to what we're talking about, though, the schedule. Like, you're signing players late in the day, yet if you're a top side, you're playing so often. And you know this from, say, fixture congestion, that, like, the amount of time you actually get to train, to spend time together is limited. So, ideally, if you're like a sort of any kind of manager, particularly, a manager who's very big on sort of structure and style, and you've got a good coaching staff and well regarded coaching staff there, you probably want to be going away on pre-season with your players. Whereas Chelsea are signing some big players now who are going to be central to how they play. And they're getting no real window to. You're
literally getting one session between games, because if you take a recovery day, so match day plus one, you can't do anything productive really. So you're like getting, considering they're all kind of playing every 3 to 4 days, or certainly are for the next while going to be playing every 3 to 4 days. Like, take the day off, take the day before a game. So match day plus one, match day minus one, you can pretty much rule out. So you have one productive training session, and you're trying to, bed in new players, develop a style of play, all of that kind of stuff. Like, it is mission impossible.
There's too much football, there's basically too much football, and footballers are asked to play too often and somehow are asked to maintain form in a season like this, which is insane.
We still love it though. 53106. I think Trent should be played in Thiago's position in centre midfield. He's got a wonderful range of passing and creativity, coupled with a huge ability to score goals. I think he played centre midfield in the academy setup, and I think that's his natural position with his vision and passing ability. Imagine him where Thiago is with Fabinho to do the hard yards and tackling for him. Klopp will cop onto this soon, hopefully.
I definitely think it's worth a shot, because they're not over. I mean, if they're playing Milner and Henderson in midfield, they're not going to win much this season, because their legs are obviously on the wane a bit, and Trent. I see it as totally logical. I think if you're a good footballer, you're a good footballer, and he's an extremely good footballer who's good on his left foot, probably has a bit of a defensive sense even though he's not a defender. I mean, if I were the Liverpool manager, which doesn't look likely at the moment, that's where I'd be. It's not going to serve
him well either, because he's not going to get the England team.
Reece James is a seriously good footballer.
Brilliant footballer.
So yeah, I definitely chance it.
They're consistently using him on the right of the tree again. Like, I thought, I was sure he'd go back to wing back for today's game, but looking at the starting 11s there, it appears he is one of the 3 centre backs again.
It just shows how short they're going to be, and they don't have Fofana in yet. In the Championship, we have Sunderland 0, Norwich 1 a result, Blackburn 0, Stoke 1, Blackpool 1, Bristol City 0, Cardiff 0, Preston 0, Huddersfield 2, West Brom 1, Hull 1, Coventry 1. It is Middlesbrough 2, Swansea 0, Millwall 0, Reading 1, Rotherham 1, Birmingham 0 is the latest score, Watford 1, QPR 2, and Wigan 0, Burnley 2. And we also got League 1 games. What's the Irish picture this afternoon in the leagues below the Premier League?
I think the main story today, as it stands anyway, is the fact that Dawson Devoy and Dara Burns are both starting for MK Dons today. They're away to Morecambe. They're 2-0 up. Will Grigg is on fire, as the song would suggest, because he scored both the goals. So he's actually on fire for once. But even over, that song, Freed from Desire, even over in Ferencváros last week for the Shamrock Rovers game, that was the anthem they put out before the game, Freed from Desire. And then there was a Hungarian version of it as well. And even all the ultras behind the goal, ferocious lot in their own way, they were all getting into it too. Like the royalties that Gala, Freed from Desire, is getting.
It's a brilliant song in its own right, lads.
Are there royalties?
Oh, I don't know. I presume there's got to be something in it.
I'm not sure about that, Dan.
Well, I assume they're getting something out of this Freed from Desire. I said, well, do you know what? Maybe it's not the royalties. It's just a lot of people are like, what's that song that they're all singing about Will Grigg? And they're getting it. They're downloading it. They're doing whatever it is. It's a slight tangent. Dawson Devoy and Dara Burns, they played midweek in the EFL Cup, and I was only chatting to Will the other day. I was like, what's the meaning of these EFL Cup games? And it's maybe sometimes that managers put in players that they're not 100% sure about. They think they're good players. It's a way of putting them in without necessarily the pressure of a points in a league match. And you probably know this with sort of like, minor cup games or whatever. And yeah, exactly. And now they're both in today for their first league start, Burns and Devoy, and MK Dons are winning, so
Conor Grant with the assist.
Well. And Conor Grant as well. Another, like, there's 4 Irish. Warren O'Hara as well. ex Bows as well. Conor Grant is a sort of creative midfielder from Dublin, so he's a good talent too. But Dublin Dons.
The mad thing is, like, we're obsessed with English football in this country for a reason, but we use it as a barometer to think like that's what Irish crowd should be like, a lot bigger. But like, MK Dons were going to, as Dan was saying at the break, MK Dons were going to loan out Dawson Devoy, who would be a marquee League of Ireland player, and they're in the 3rd tier in England. Now, he's probably played well enough that they haven't loaned him out, but like, there's a lot of, like, there was a spate, JD, of League of Ireland players who went to League One around the same time, and a lot of people in the League of Ireland were like, why is this happening? The League One is a lot bigger than the League of Ireland. There's some really big clubs.
Like, English football is
3rd tier. It's a monster.
The Championship is probably, I saw someone argue this the other day.
One of the biggest leagues in the world.
Would it be one of the top 5, top 6 leagues in Europe? And it certainly would be on the whole Deloitte. The Deloitte sort of range they do to, like, they take sort of stuff, barometer, certain metrics from a club and use it. And probably the Deloitte would have, like, the Championship, I think, is maybe 5th or 6th in terms of the biggest leagues. But League One now, this season, has Ipswich, Sheffield Wednesday, Bolton, Portsmouth. You could probably name a couple of others off the top of my head. Barnsley, okay. Like, a lot of clubs who would average attendance to be over 15, 16, 17,000. Yet you would look at some of the top leagues around Europe, top 10 leagues in Europe, wouldn't have anything close to that in some cases.
See, the argument
Bolton, Sheffield Wednesday, 22,000.
Yeah.
22,000.
See, the argument you'll always get back from our League of Ireland fans, I suppose, is, but what about Europe? Like, how is it better to be playing for a League One team than a Shamrock Rovers or playing in Europe? But you can't.
It's also money.
Yeah,
it's exactly, Jitty. It is money. Like, and Devoy would 100% be on exponentially more money.
And all the players that have gone up to, like, Chidozie Bene, gone into like Troy Parrott's on loan out of Preston. You got players now coming into the Championship. Is there an argument that the Championship is where the Premier League was at 30 years ago in terms of quality? And actually, if we got a load of players playing regularly in the Championship, that's good enough to have a good international team.
100%.
You could argue that point.
100%. Like, and it's a like, I've been to Championship games. The standard is really, really high. Like, and it's not the Premier League, but you're playing at a level that most people could only dream of. And like, I think the key for the Ireland players is just to be playing, basically.
53106. Why does the media say Trent this, Trent that in relation to Liverpool? Only player called by his first name. 90% of those calling him Trent have never spoken to him.
The length of his surname. It's too hard to spit out.
I did. Jamie Carragher did annoy me though the other night. He was just like, Trent this, Trent that. It was a bit, I don't know.
Annoyed Ronaldo as well. He wasn't having any of them.
Yeah, it does happen. Like, Jack Byrne is a lot of people say Jack. I've got stick for doing that as well. It's just some players. It just seems to just.
We all get stick.
It just seems to suit. It seems that Wes would have been another one as well.
Oh, what a goal!
Another one.
5-0 to Liverpool. Van Dijk redemption song. 5-0 against Bournemouth, and this is before half time.
Mother of God, what's this going to end up? This could break the record, lads. It definitely could break the record. Great ball.
You kind of wonder at what point do you score so many goals that it ceases to be a statement anymore, because it's almost at that point of, like, irrelevance. The game is won now.
You're definitely raging when you're the fella who gets the first, and now like your goal just pretty much doesn't mean anything anymore. So it doesn't.
Because I think that Man United Ipswich 9-0. I think that was the time. I think that might have been the season that
1995.
Andy Cole scored 5 goals. Yet it was a season where Andy Cole actually really struggled. He scored a couple of sort of flat track bully games, and that was the year. Was that the year they lost the league in the last day, and he missed a big chance against West Ham later on?
He missed a couple.
Or was
against
the next
West
season
Ham.
after that?
Well, 95 is when they missed the chance.
Yeah, 94, 95. Yeah. So I think Cole signed in January of 95.
Yeah, that's it.
And I think he a load of goals against Ipswich, but didn't matter when it came to the crunch. And it's like, Liverpool, it's great to score loads of goals against Bournemouth here. The win is done. You move on, but it's now almost like back it up in the next game too. This doesn't say they're back to themselves, because Bournemouth could be so bad this year. it could almost just mean nothing.
What does it say? Aston Villa, Bournemouth beat Aston Villa.
Yeah.
I think Aston Villa, since Michael Beale, after struggling, we have no more goals to report. So Man City still 2-0 down to Crystal Palace, and Everton 1-0 up at Brentford, as well as Liverpool's 5-0 lead over Bournemouth. Man United 1-0 winners over Southampton earlier on. 53106, great show, lads, as always. Thank you. Could Trent switching to midfield that you talk about be as successful as Philip Lahm switch a few years back? He put out the great work, says Luke and Sligo.
What's their alternative at right back, incidentally?
What's the what?
What's their alternative at right back?
Gomez kind of goes out there, doesn't he, when they play Matip at centre or...
Because did he have the most assists in the league last season or whatever, Trent? So he's making right back an incredibly important position, but central midfield is more important.
I just think I understand why people say it, but I just think it's a different game translating those. I know because Liverpool have the ball so much and he looks so good in the ball to assume he'll just be able to do a job in midfield. I'm not sure. I don't think you can. Philip Lahm is an exceptional player, like exceptionally good, and I get there are examples out there, but the level is so high now at the top end of the Premier League to think that someone could just convert, having been in a particular mindset, the game ahead of them for so long. I know he cuts inside and he comes in and gets involved, but to think he could convert to being sometime like a top level midfielder with all the facets you need for that.
He could, totally could.
I don't know. I think you're looking at on the ball, but there has to be off the ball as well.
Like the Lahm comparison makes
off the
which is what you're listening to right now.
Oh my
The
God.
incidental partridge part 1.
It's just part 1.
In the second half of the show today.
People accuse me of that all the time.
The Lahm comparison makes sense in terms of a player going from full back into midfield, but they're very, very different full backs. Like Lamb's, do you know what I mean? Lamb's skill set was in how good.
Rice did it very well for Shamrock Rovers. He did. You can see even at Derry City. What's his name?
He wasn't a dynamic attacking wing back. He was I just think people are seduced by his quality on the ball. Oh yeah, he can play in midfield. It's not.
But I think the definition of a full back now is very, very different. Like if you say to most managers, I'll give you a right or left back who's going to cost you 3 to 4 goals this season, but is going to get you 10 to 15 assists, you're probably going to take that. Like you're probably going to.
What percentage of his game does he spend actually defending? It'd be about 5.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like he's not a defender.
And it's more that applies to far more than him. Now I do think he's a little bit more suspect defensively than a lot, but you see it at all levels. Like Dan, believe it or not, in the League of Ireland First Division at the moment, Treaty United's left back Mark Ludden has the second most assists in the First Division.
Yeah,
quality player.
Do you know? That's what a full back does. Do you know? That's what a full back does now.
Yeah, like Andy Lyons as a wing back, I suppose. The season he's having is absolutely incredible. But I just think talking about someone like sort of Trent or Alexander Arnold or whatever way people would prefer him to be described.
Just call him Trent Alexander Arnold. His name.
TAA. Is that acceptable? Is that too?
No, that's worse. Yeah. That's definitely worse.
But to go in and actually dictate the tempo of a game, and you're talking about Thiago. It's like how is he going to learn that at this stage? I just think that's just I don't think it's realistic.
Football evolves like Shane. What I can't get my head around is if Shamrock Rovers have Neil Ferrugia and Andy Lyons available now, they play Ferrugia on the right and they play Andy Lyons on the left, which the implication is that you're better off coming infield on your favourite foot. And it kind of makes sense. And it's completely illogical when you think about all we knew about football. You play your left back, left-footed, right, and they're doing the exact opposite.
53106, Trent will not get his England place if he converts to midfield. Calvin Ramsey was signed as an alternative right back for Liverpool, but he's also out injured, says Finn and Navin, another one of our texters. Guys, thank you for doing what you do on the show. Great conversations. Thank you so much for your text. Just on TAA at right back, I think he would be in midfield at the minute with all the injuries, but the right back Liverpool signed Ramsey has been injured since he signed Gomez as playing centre at the minute, who would be the other option. Also, just to note, the season is already over. City will win is nuts. It's been a weird season to start and add in the World Cup. I don't think 90 plus points will be earned this year by anyone.
Maybe right.
On 53106. So we have half times from the Premier League. Southampton 0, Man United 1 as a result. Brentford 0, Everton 1 is half time. Anthony Gordon for the Toffees, really crucial goal in London for them. Brighton 0, Leeds 0, Chelsea 0, Leicester 0, but Conor Gallagher sent off. Liverpool 5, Bournemouth 0 at the break. So Luis Diaz with the first goal in the first minute. We also have Harvey Elliott, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Roberto Firmino and Virgil van Dijk scoring for the Reds today. So they're going to get their first victory of the Premier League season. Manchester City 0, Crystal Palace 2. Goals from John Stones, an own goal, and Joachim Andersen. That gives a real opening for Arsenal against Fulham at 5:30. In the Championship, Sunderland 0, Norwich 1 is a result. Blackburn 0, Stoke 1 is the latest score. Blackpool 1, Bristol City 1. These are half-time scores now. Cardiff 0, Preston 0 at half-time. Huddersfield 2, West Brom 1 half-time. Hull 2, Coventry 1 at latest. Middlesbrough 2, Swansea 0 at the break. It is Millwall 0, Reading 1. That match coming up to half-time. Rotherham 1, Birmingham 0. Watford 1, QPR 2 at half-time. And Wigan 1, Burnley 2. And in Scotland, we have Rangers 2, Ross County 0, St Mirren 1, Hibs 0, Kilmarnock 0, Motherwell 1, and Aberdeen 1, Livingston 0.
As it stands, JD, Man United are a point behind Man City.
Wow.
Which is mad.
And it appears that's not a fluke. Man City haven't had a shot on target in the first half. I'm just looking at the stats here.
Title race is over.
They've had 330 passes compared to 78, but they haven't had a shot on target.
Amazing. Leeds Palace are pretty well set up, you'd have to think, off the basis of those stats. Why is there a distinct smell of Spurs, United and Poole in the studio? How can you completely ignore the Arsenal who lost Aubameyang, our talisman, and were being relegated at this stage last season and still just missed out in the Champions League? Ignore at your peril, says Frank in Kildare.
Yeah, Frank
like Johnny could have you winning the title by 5 o'clock here, to be clear.
Yeah, I did give Arsenal, Shane has an affinity with Spurs or whatever, as do you, JD, but Arsenal have been very good. I think he's signed really well.
Alexander Zinchenko and Gabriel Jesus have been amazing so far.
Zinchenko is, again, another player who you could play full-back, or as Saliba as well. Kenny Cunningham Ravenbone the other night. They've signed very well. They've a definite top 4 chance, at least.
Very good structurally and culturally, it seems. I haven't watched the documentary, but they just seem that they have a rhythm now.
Yeah, I think they're very, very good. I think probably if I was to pick a most underrated player in the Premier League last year, I thought it was Odegaard.
Right, he's a beautiful. Why is that now?
Beautiful footballer.
He's just, his vision, his football and brain is top notch. He is, yeah. I thought that was interesting. And I just think he is, to me, more than anybody, he is the one who makes them tick. His appreciation of space and his ability to find space and spatial awareness is just top notch. And he's the kind of, he's that fulcrum bit that all of the rest of these lovely players who are catching the eye, like Martinelli's off to a great start. Jesus has transformed them by being the proper centre forward that they needed, I suppose. Like you've got fellas like Smith Rowe can't get a sniff of the starting 11 at the moment. I think they look very,
Kieran Tierney
very
as
good.
well, not in the team.
Kieran Tierney can't get inside. To be honest with you, I thought Zinchenko was signed as a centre midfielder.
Yeah, where he plays for his country. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there was some, I don't know if I'd say promises made to him on that, but I think that was part of the discussion that we're bringing in. But to be fair, he's kind of doing that whole Man City thing and the Trent thing, isn't he? Up here, Trent. Oh no, sorry.
Watching the replay.
He's kind of doing that whole.
Is the worry the squad that might not be deep enough for the run they're going to have? Europa League.
How are they for the World Cup as well?
Well, you see, I suppose the Europa League matters to them to a point. I mean, I know, but they have a better route to the Champions League through the league this season. You know what I mean? Like, so if it may be that they are in a position to go a little bit half-hearted at that, to sort of, save some of your crown jewels in terms of not having that, whereas clubs in the Champions League, unless they can try and win their group early and sort of buy themselves a little bit of time later on.
Now look, I wouldn't be getting overly carried away either. Like, you're still looking at, Ben White at right back. Is that the sort of right back that you want to be? And like, as we know, Xhaka can go through periods where he's poor. At the moment he's good, and I think he, when he is good, he is very good actually. So he is, but they probably do need another one or two to make them very good. Yeah.
Okay, got to take a break. Shane Keegan, co-Ramblers manager, Dan McDonnell of the Irish Independent, and the broadcaster and journalist Johnny Ward on Football Saturday between 4 and 5. Plenty more to come on the show. Thanks for listening this afternoon. I hope to have your company between 4 and 5 here on News Talk. We're back after Saturday here on News Talk. John Duggan with you 3 to 5 this evening. This is Football Saturday. Remember, football and off the ball brought to you by Sky. Watch every live Premier League game this season on Sky Sports, BT Sport and Premier Sports. You can text us 53106 for a cost of 30 cents. Tweet us at Off the Ball. You can listen on News Talk this afternoon on your radio. Also watch us on the digital and social channels for Periscope and Twitter at Off the Ball, YouTube, Facebook and on the OTB Sports app. Delighted to have Shane Keegan, the co-Ramblers manager, in studio with Dan McDonnell of the Irish Independent and the broadcaster and journalist Johnny Ward. Let's get some half times in the Premier League. Liverpool against Bournemouth at Anfield. Shane Pinnington.
It's Liverpool 5, Bournemouth 0 at half-time. What a first-half performance has been from Jurgen Klopp's side, who just simply battered their opponents. They took the lead on 3 minutes when Firmino's cross was headed in by Luis Diaz, and 3 minutes later, Harvey Elliott had his first Premier League goal for Liverpool, firing home from 20 yards out. Then Mo Salah even had time to miss a sitter from 2 yards out to put it over the bar before they made it 3 on 28. Alexander-Arnold's 20-yard stunner flying into the left-hand top corner. It was 4-0 just after the half half-hour mark when Firmino volleyed home from close range, and right on half-time they made it 5 when a corner from Elliott was headed home from Virgil van Dijk. Liverpool 5, Bournemouth 0.
And the ball's just gone into the net to make it 6-0 for Liverpool, coming from Chris Mepham, an own goal.
We're witnessing history here. I think it's fair to say if it's 6-0 after 46 minutes, they're going to hit 10, surely.
Yeah, Scott Parker is not a happy man on the sideline, but what can he do?
I think he's right, to be honest. I think there was a foul there as the player was the Bournemouth player. I'm not sure who I thought Bournemouth player as he was trying to come out. I did think he was fouled here. You'll see it here, John. Is this a foul? Like, do you see that?
Nah.
Do you reckon?
They're not going to give that now. Like,
great delivery by TAA.
That's
offside. He's offside.
No, he doesn't touch it though.
He doesn't touch it. The defender touches
it.
But he's interfering with play, is he not?
How?
Does his presence make the defender do that?
He completely interfering with play.
Yeah,
that's
I think
offside.
His presence makes the defender do that. So
yeah, well, we'll see what VAR says as we wait for that. Let's take it to half-time from Manchester City against Crystal Palace. From the Etihad, Darren Stanage.
City 0, Palace 2, a shock scoreline here at the Etihad. The champions find themselves 2 down to Palace, and the London side deserve it. Both goals from set pieces, both taken by Eze. The first, a free kick hit Walker onto Stones and deflected past Edison, whilst a corner in the 20th minute headed home brilliantly by Anderson. Palace have since defended really well. The Palace keeper without a meaningful save to make. Haaland and Foden have both headed over. Haaland missed a great chance just before the break, but as they proved last week, City can turn a game round. They'll have to do it here at half-time. City 0, Palace 2.
And a half-time from Chelsea against Leicester. From Stamford Bridge, Ian Beach.
Chelsea 0, Leicester 0. It's despite the scoreline being an all-action first half. We've had a red card. Conor Gallagher sent off for Chelsea for 2 yellow card offences. We've had a penalty that was awarded to Chelsea and then not awarded after VAR spotted an offside in the build-up. And since Chelsea have been down to 10 men, it's been incredibly competitive. Leicester also had a goal ruled out. Harvey Barnes with their header that went in off the post, but he'd been spotted with his arm around the neck of the Chelsea goalkeeper Edouard Mendy in the build-up. It's going to be a great second half. Chelsea 0, Leicester 0.
Half-time Brighton against Leeds. This one from the Amex, Richard Newman.
Half-time, Brighton and Hove Albion 0, Leeds United 0. It's a bit baffling. Brighton aren't ahead. How many times have we said this? They've had so many chances. Leeds haven't been in this at all. The best chance fell to Adam Webster, who headed wide unmarked from a Pascal Gross free kick. And Webster's also scooped another effort over. Solly March has looked a threat from the right, twice cutting inside and forcing Ilian Meslier into a save, while Leandro Trossard should have hit the target when he found himself with space following a corner. Leeds have not looked the side which beat Chelsea last weekend, and it's really frustrating Jesse Marsh, who hasn't stopped orchestrating from his technical box. But at the break, it's Brighton 0, Leeds 0.
And half-time, Brentford against Everton.
I mean, how is that not offside? How is that not an offside?
I understand broadcasting there. JD's trying to go to a score.
I was on autopilot through the scores there, Johnny. And
they've given. Well, I think to be clear, they have given that goal because we were debating it. And I mean, not everyone again is seeing this, but
Liverpool 6, Bournemouth 0.
Yeah, it did appear as though Diaz was in an offside position and interfered with Mepham's decision. But I mean, someone who knows the rules better can tell us why that has not been chalked off. I mean, it's not going to decide the league, but it could decide a record score. But Johnny, you don't understand it.
Liverpool win the league by a goal, and
if you move Trent into centre midfield now, he wouldn't have been crossing in balls like that.
He wouldn't.
Chelsea have scored 1-0 against Leicester with 10 men. Raheem Sterling on the mark in the second half, and also we're not going to go to the report. We'll just tell you that it's Brentford 0, Everton 1. So you got a bit of a Leeds obsession you were telling us in the break there at the moment. Is it
more of a Jesse Marsh obsession? Yeah, I
like Graham Potter has really shown his chops early on this season.
Well, that's a really interesting game because those two actually there was. I like, obviously, coming with a slightly different managerial background myself. I like people who come in to the Premier League with a different managerial background, I suppose. And Jonathan Norcroft wrote a great piece in last week's Times built around kind of Jesse Marsh and what was going on at Leeds. But I suppose essentially the point he was making on it, John, is that he thinks we're kind of getting to a stage where it's less show me the medals you won as a player and slightly more show me your degrees and qualifications. It's up to, what do you say, 5 plus 3, 8 Premier League managers at the moment have a degree. He went down through them. 5 of them have sports-related degrees, but 3 of them, including the 2 that are facing off today, so Jesse Marsh and Graham Potter. I think Graham Potter's is in emotional intelligence. Jesse Marsh's is in history. And the other one escapes me. It'll come back to me in a minute. But yeah, and basically all of Jesse Marsh's entire backroom team, assistant manager, goalkeeping coach, strength and conditioning, they all have underlying degrees in various different areas, and it was just an interesting piece around, is that kind of changing a little bit? Is that, does an actual formal education, particularly obviously ideally in the area of sport, stand for a bit more now, or is it now the thing that clubs are looking at a little bit more rather than how many medals you won as a player? Yeah,
I think a bit of both probably is required, isn't it? An understanding of the game, obviously, maybe having played the game, or I don't think you have to have a degree to to be anybody. But it's interesting. What was I going to say there? I can't remember. Just going to go through the scores here. Man City 0, Crystal Palace 2, Liverpool 6, Bournemouth 0, Chelsea 1, Leicester 0, Brighton 0, Leeds 0. Yeah, Evan Ferguson. That's what I was going to say because we mentioned Brighton. So he scored during the week and laid off an assist. How do we feel his progress is going? Like, he's only 17 years of age, I think
that's the thing. Like, he is only 17. So he was on the bench a lot last season. I'm not sure if he's on the bench today or not. But again, it's the classic sort of EFL Cup opportunity for him. Like, he played all night. Like, he started, but he didn't score until the 93rd minute.
He is on the bench. Yeah.
He is on the bench, yeah. So he's even used it to get himself onto the bench, having not been on the bench the first couple of games of the season. Like, no, that's it. He is so young. The excitement about him is probably born out of the fact that, but there's always a slight danger as well that someone who's very physically developed, very young, you often wonder, do you get to the stage where that is a strength that makes you stand out from your peers when you're younger, but it sort of neutralised at a stage or something?
That was my exact concern, to be honest with you. I would have had people ask me before about Evan Ferguson and that, and that's exactly what I would have said back to him, John, was, I'd be a little bit concerned when he's not just bigger and stronger and able to outmuscle everybody. Has he enough in his game? But he seems to be turning into a far more rounded and complete player, which is fantastic.
Yeah, and I don't know what the next step is because he's almost so young that it's not, some people would feel they wouldn't be mad on sending a 17-year-old out on loan. There's obviously to be different opinions on that you want to sort of to be in and around the club environment, and maybe a year older is the time that you send them away. But there probably is going to come a stage where you have to let him off the leash a bit and let him play 10, 15, 20 games of men's football somewhere. Is he going to do that with Brighton? It's very unlikely. It is still very unlikely unless
the geography of the UK would be poor. What decent clubs are in Brighton's area that they can keep him living in the same place? That's probably the way to go, isn't it?
What are you saying, Johnny? Sorry?
Portsmouth are so close.
Yeah, that's true actually. You would probably... It's a little bit of a trek, so you would have to sort of think about that. And I mean, he is, I think the thing as well, you mentioned various questions people will ask about someone, attitude and his reputation. I think, he's from a sort of a sporting family. Like, his dad, was in England when he was younger as an ex-League of Ireland player. Barry, be involved in the game. I think he has a sister who's very talented sports person as well too. Might even be on a scholarship in the States or something. So I think there's a good environment. Like, he's got a good grounding there that he shouldn't. He's unlikely to probably get caught up in what can happen. Aaron Connolly has spoken honestly about sort of his struggles and what happened to him when he made a bit of a breakthrough. I don't think you're going to have those concerns with Ferguson, but we'll see. Andrew Moran, who come off the bench as well in that game from Bray, East St Joseph's, and then Bray Wanderers connection there. A couple of years back, I went to watch a pre-season friendly down in Tolka Park, and there was Andrew Moran and Lee Kavanagh, two players involved, both of whom went from Bray to Brighton, and I think John Morling, who's now back in the FAI but would have been the sort of academy head at Brighton, would have been a big part of probably their scouting in Ireland. It's even been said to me that he was a big part in Moran being signed, because he's more like a Wes Hoolahan style player, that maybe the type of player that some clubs in the UK mightn't sign now because of there's so much emphasis on sort of physicality, and he's not necessarily that. He's more Spanish almost in his style, but he came off the bench and was involved in the build up to Ferguson's goal too, and I wouldn't forget him when we're talking about Ferguson. I think Moran's excited when he signed a new contract recently.
I'd get phone calls, JD, from scouts around players around the Midlands, if just checking in on different fellas and what I know about them and that, and inevitably always one of the first questions out of their mouth is, how tall is his mother? apparently the genetics comes more from
that is a worry for Evan as well.
Father's side, and they do ask it every time. How tall is his mother?
Evan's mother is English, so he could obviously switch allegiances as well, which would.
No, he asked how tall was the mother.
Yeah,
how Irish.
Yeah, it's funny though with the strikers, because like Obafemi was 4th choice striker for the under 21s at one stage, and he's now essentially our main striker. I think he was
I don't
behind.
think he's the main striker yet. Adam Ida hasn't been in the squad.
Yeah, so I suppose Ida's come back, but he was behind Ida, Connolly and Hart for the 21s.
I've made that point to you before. I think drawing a map over 10, 15 years of the career trajectories of Connolly, Parrott, Ida and Obafemi is going to be fascinating.
It'll be
erratic. They're going
erratic.
to pass each other out at different times. I know it might sound ridiculous to include Connolly there now, but Connolly was top of that 4 at one stage.
It's like it's like one of these polls with sort of Sinn Féin and Fianna Fáil kind of Gaelic. Just watch it over a period of time, see who went up and down. Like, you know,
I would have had a
man from CNN, John King, standing at the wall, just looking to see like
stocks have risen.
What's going on here with Obafemi?
I'd be amazed if Obafemi weren't the best of them because of his progression in the last year.
Careers.
Yeah, his pace, like.
But pace doesn't last forever. That's actually the real.
It can also lead you to be a one-trick pony.
That's the real concern.
He's developed into a better player. Like I wasn't sure what he was like. Like some of his all-round play has improved drastically. Like.
Is there not a bit of recency bias there? Like,
probably.
Do you know what I mean? This is my point. In 6 months' time, a different fella could be top, and in 6 months' time, a different fella could be top. And I remember kind of charting it the whole way with Mikey and Shawnee, say, when we had Sean McGuire and Mikey Drennan coming through. And I mean, you know, there was a period of time where Mikey Drennan was miles ahead of Sean McGuire in terms of where their careers were going. And then one passed the other out, and then the other passed the other back out again. And I think that's what will happen. I think there won't be just a constant upward curve for one, a constant downward curve for others. I think they'll wave forward and back past each other a bit.
And durability is obviously a big, and it's a concern with a couple of these, just with injuries they've had. Like I still would be an Ida fan. I back him, but you would have to say that Troy Parrott is trending very positively, and he's not a one-trick pony. Like, he's got probably the footballing ability that's absolutely, and a versatility that's there. And if he's now, it looks like, I mean, you hear the stories, we've referenced it in his pre-season with Conte, that he was one of the last men standing. If he's adding that and he's living his life in tandem with his ability, then he could be the one that lasts the longest,
he's playing today for Preston.
Could do with a goal because
Cardiff and Robbie Brady
playing very well though.
Yeah, Preston just don't score goals.
Adam Brown in the team, Robbie Brady in the team.
You've got to remember Obafemi's pass to Parrott. Now, you can't play that pass without having an extremely good ability as a footballer, not to mind the fact that he's very quick and scores goals. That pass was outrageous.
Yeah, again, the only thing I'd say there is I'd be more interested in a fella who has 5 to 6 assists than a fella who has one outrageous assist. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He needs to keep doing that. And if Ogbene is now settled at club level as a centre forward as well, you can throw him in, and you've now got 5 names of similar age group that we can kind of chart over the next while, so that will be interesting.
Manchester City have pulled one back against Crystal Palace through Bernardo Silva, so Manchester City 1, Crystal Palace 2, Liverpool 6, Bournemouth 0. Just going through the record scores, it was actually a record win is 9-0, as we said, for Man United against Ipswich in March 1995. The record score, Portsmouth 7, Reading 4. This is now in the Premier League, because we all know the football only began in 1992. 5-3-1-6 lads were in game week 4, chill out, and after 10 games you'll have a far better idea, says Ned the Red. Trent Alexander-Arnold doesn't obey the old John Giles maxim of defenders, always thinking the worst will happen. Culpable for both Man United goals on Monday, idly ruminating when Mitrovic scored in full game.
Idly ruminating, I like that.
And totally unaware of the Champions League final goal. Wonderful passer, etc., but decision making's poor, says Joe and Donegal. And does Johnny insist on being referred to as the broadcaster journalist? No, I insist. I have the conch here. It's like Lord of the Flies. I have the conch. I insist that he's called the broadcaster.
It actually is in my contract.
There comes a point where Johnny is just so well known he doesn't need that anymore.
No, he doesn't.
It's just Johnny Ward.
I get it all the time.
But we always welcome the new listeners.
Like, are you the broadcaster and journalist Johnny Ward? Yes, I am. And yes, I will have a beer.
It's a credit card company called.
How was your trip to Michael Collins, JD?
It was amazing. That was just amazing. Like, it's obviously very sad in a way. 100 years to the day that he passed away, but I just felt like, you know, it felt a sense of history being down there. I love this country, and I love the people in this country. I love the culture of this country, and I got a train down to Kent Station, got a bus to Crookstown, and that was an interesting journey because it was a quick journey. Then I walked for about an hour to Bellnablaw, and it's quite a remote part of the world. It's pretty isolated. Even like 100 years on, you're walking through, like you have to watch the traffic behind you and in front of you. You're crossing the road all the time. There's no real pathway. So you walk for about an hour. Got to the memorial site, about 100 people there. I know the big celebration was the previous day. Scorching hot day. The sun came out. Then I walked past, took a photo at the memorial site, walked about a half an hour on. You can't hear a pin drop. I don't know what he was doing down there with that convoy 100 years ago. I think it was crazy. And then I went into the Diamond Bar, which was Long's, which was where the ambush was planned. And it's funny because the guy behind the bar was telling me that for decades, like, you don't mention Michael Collins' name in here. And now in the pub you have a beautiful picture on the wall of Michael Collins. So everything is obviously kind of calmed down, it's peace, reconciliation, all that kind of thing in that neck of the woods. But it's amazing that 100 years ago in this country we had a civil war. You know, people, brothers against brother, fighting against fighting.
And you wore the suit down as well.
I wore one of those hats as well I got, you know, the racing hats. So I brought down the hat that they would have worn about 100 years ago. So look, you know, if you feel like you want to be part of this day, as it were. And the beautiful thing about it was I was prepared to walk another hour back to the bus at Crookstown. So I ended up having a couple of beers with a couple from Cork, Billy and Eileen, and they gave me a lift back into Cork City.
I knew it had happened, JD.
It's just in any like place where you're having a cup of tea or a glass of milk or a pint, you know, to walk into any hostelry in this country and to be able to strike up a conversation and just have the crack and talk about you know, Derby County he was a fan of, this guy, and like that's what Irishness is about, and that's what, you know, why we want to live in a free country. And you know, 7-0 to Liverpool.
Where you can watch Liverpool.
How many
go
Derby
7.
County fans in Ireland is there?
7-0 to Liverpool now. So talk us through this one.
Short corner.
Andy Robertson. Does it go straight in?
That's not a great moment for Mark
again,
Travers.
is it? Yeah, a couple of bites at it, didn't he?
Travers sort of pushes crosses the boxes.
There, lads.
Travers didn't really get a strong hand, or he pushed it in the direction of Firmino. He does make a good save, but it's a bit sort of.
He wishes this day would just end.
Sort of last order stuff here. It's a bit messy.
Just to continue on our MK Dons from earlier, here's Conor Grant with a goal to make it 3.
There we go. Yeah, all about the MK Dons.
3-4. What did we say? 4 and 4 at
Preston.
4 Preston.
Yeah,
and 4
MK Dons at Preston.
Fair going, isn't it?
Preston's a great place.
There was no MK Dons 100 years ago.
No.
Sure.
I had a week at Preston.
What's that?
I had a week at Preston. I went over. Simon Grayson was the manager at the time.
Oh yeah.
Shawnee wasn't long gone there, and
very friendly club.
Yeah, it was a good setup.
We had a day in Preston, but we ended up also in town afterwards in Preston. Bit different to probably your week at the football club.
I had a night in town during the week there as well. All right, yeah.
Place, isn't it? Yeah.
It is. It is.
It almost feels like
springs to mind, but
but it's kind of like an anachronism in English football in that, like, they don't kind of spend beyond their means. They're not trying to buy success, and just going to a game there.
First winners of the English League, remember?
Wow. But like going to a game there.
Hemmings there as well. It was the late Trevor Hemmings who was the owner.
It feels like football used to be. Like, it's kind of I don't know, the atmosphere is like old school there, and it's a very enjoyable place to watch a game.
2-0 to Chelsea now against Leicester with 10 men. Conor Gallagher sent off in the first half, but Raheem Sterling got the first and he's got the second as well. So he's saving Chelsea's bacon today. Liverpool 7, Bournemouth 0. Are we going to have a record this afternoon in the Premier League? Manchester City 1, Crystal Palace 2, Brighton 0, Leeds 0, Brentford 0, Everton 1. So Frank Lampard's side doing well down in London this afternoon. Man United winning 1-0 away to Southampton earlier on. In the Championship, it finished Sunderland 0, Norwich 1, Blackburn 0, Stoke 1 is the latest. It is Blackpool 2, Bristol City 1, Cardiff 0, Preston 0, Huddersfield 2, West Brom 2, Hull 3, Coventry 1 at latest score. Middlesbrough 2, Swansea 0, Millwall 0, Reading 1, Rotherham 1, Birmingham 0, Watford 2, QPR 2, and Wigan 1, Burnley 3 at the moment. In 1922, 100 years ago, Liverpool won the league and Spurs were second. There you go. So in terms of the draws, lads, from the Champions League, from Shamrock Rovers' point of view, will Rovers be happy with the Jor Gordons, Mulder and Ghent?
Yeah, I think there's probably mixed reactions to it, and even trying to speak to sort of a couple of people involved with the club and stuff. I think there probably would have been some who would have loved the idea of one real glamour tie-in there, like one sort of postcard moment, which would have been probably Villarreal or Fiorentina or West Ham. But in saying that, like, the primary desire is to be competitive and to be really involved. I mean, like people talk now about Dundalk 2016 as this amazing thing, but I remember when the draw took place that day, people were looking at Alkmaar, Tel Aviv and Zenit going, I wish there'd been a bit more glamour. Because there was more glamorous options, say, available. And it didn't matter because the biggest buzz was being involved in the group and being competitive. Now, Shane can actually give us something on this because Molde played Dundalk in 2020 when Shane was at Dundalk and you were involved in a group stage game. I think you were listed as the manager, of course, Shane, at the time. You were out in the press conferences.
Erling had him, by the way, 2-2 now.
Oh, so there we go.
Wow.
Well, speaking of Norway, well, there we go. But like Molde, Djurgården, the way I would describe it is Ghent are one of the weaker top seeds they could have faced. There was better level top seeds. That's good. Molde are a strong pot 2 team. They're top of the Norwegian league at the moment, clear of Bodo Glimt, who we've seen nearly make the Champions League, and Djurgården, a strong pot 4 team. They could have got a couple of teams from pot 4 that they would have fancied to beat, including the team that Linfield somehow lost to during the week, which is another story. But Molde, Shane, you can probably it's artificial pitch. Sort of
first memory of Molde is just what a fantastic place it is. Like
really?
it's an absolutely fantastic place, and it's such a. It was really strange. Like I have photos on the phone of. We had a bit of a thing going on at Dundalk where most of the staff were into kind of fitness and long distance running and all that. So as we're travelling around Europe, every place we go, we all head off for a kind of a 10k run or whatever it was, which was great crack. But
were you one of those?
Yeah, I do enjoy it. We went on this long distance run in Molde that brought us right down to the sea, and we were. Like you're able to get into it was warm enough to get into the sea and have the sea up to like your chest, and yet behind you in the photos is snow-topped mountains. Like it's kind of, I don't know how it manages to, just over there we can see the snow-topped mountains. Yeah, it was lovely and warm where we were and warm enough to get into the sea. Footballing wise, I'm actually just having a look here to see if I can find them online here to see have they changed much since we
while you're doing that, like it's a 20,000 population
stadium.
Is it?
And the stadium is 11,000.
Is it near Oslo or is it?
No, it's like I actually was looking at it. If it's possible, I might be at that one. That it's like it's an 8-hour train from Oslo. So it's I think it's north. I'm pretty sure it's far north. But this is like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, where he played. It's where he managed. He had 2 stints there. If you say like what's the best known for Molde, like a lot of places it will be that artificial pitch, which sort of is a reflection of sort of the inclement weather they can have. And Djurgården also is an artificial pitch, probably more common in say sort of Nordic Scandinavian region, but sort of I want to look more into the origin story of the club. That like Norwegian football is strong, yet you have a town of sort of this size. I don't know, is that like Sligo size or even smaller? And yet they have this sort of modern stadium, and they've been across the last decade, they've been doing some pretty good stuff.
We were well able for them, Jerry. We gave them,
and the Dundalk are, with all due respect, Dundalk were not in the nick then that Shamrock Rovers should be now.
Agreed, yeah, agreed. And yet we gave them 2 right good. They were 2 kind of well in the balance games. So they were. The difference was, and just looking here, he is still there. The difference across the 2 games was they have a guy playing for him, a guy called Wolf Ekram, and like
he was the Wolf. There was a big thing about him.
Former Man United.
Yeah, even in the Tala game when you were 1-0 up or Dundalk were 1-0 up, and yeah. Yeah, he just has that ability to
absolute quality. Yeah, he's just kind of one of these. He had a lot of injury problems, I think, and that stopped him going to the level that he should. Like he should be operating at a completely different level altogether. And even within the game, like we knew that he comes off on 70 minutes in pretty much every game. Like I don't know what's wrong with him physically, but he's not able to do 90 even. But his talent is outrageous. So he'll be the one that they'll need to.
If Rovers aren't at it, they could conceivably lose the 6 games. These are good teams, but I think the experiences that they're gaining, the fact that they've, it's probably a bit too much made of it, like, because two of them games were almost dead rubbers, but they've won 4 games at home.
They'll pick up points in that group, John.
I think they will. I think they will.
I think the easiest way to explain it is that there will be outsiders in all 6 games.
Exactly.
But they have no reason to be afraid of any of them.
Exactly.
I think that's probably the easiest way, that there's no game there where you're at the start of it going, well, this is about how many. This is going to be one of those damaged deep down. They know it's a damage limitation.
And the other thing is Dan,
like that.
What's really attracting me to this is the fact that they've young players coming in, that are like really progressing, and like Justin Ferrajai's performance the last night it's just one of these things that as you get older, it makes you feel alive to see a kid of 17 years of age perform the way he did and look so like not out of place. And then you have young Gideon Tete come on, who I thought did really well in the away leg when they were 3-0 down. He's only a 17-year-old. Idemo Maku has to improve, but he's getting more experience. And Jack Byrne, I mean, Jack Byrne's performance.
I know it was a dead rubber, but they'll take a hell of a lot of confidence from that performance.
Absolutely. And in fairness to, like, Ferencváros, for at least the first 20 minutes were really like paying them respect. I like the way they did, but
yeah, Jack's a game changer.
Jack's deliveries, like Jack set up. Jack was only on the pitch like
Here 50. We are all calling him Jack again. Jack.
You can't call Jack Anton. He's just Jack.
Byrne
is too common, isn't it?
He's also a friend of the show. He's also been in on.
He's a friend. I said this in my match report. His deliveries are world class, and he's like literally on a place for the goal that they scored, and he will be like a new player in the group stages because he's barely played in Europe this year.
I think like when you have, and Graham Burke has been injured as well, and like football's about players ultimately. You know, you can talk about it and like at a certain level when you
you've sold Malta.
Like you talk about Wolf there or whatever. Like Jack has that ability. Like it's just a natural ability he has. The angles he can take, where he can receive the ball, and the way Rovers try and play sometimes. Like they're quite brave sometimes in how they try and play, and they need to sort of play through teams that'll probably try and press them and look at how they've struggled. And Jack just takes the pressure off them sometimes, and then going forward he has that creative ability. Like they played Brann a couple of years ago, Norwegian side, and I mean he would have been the difference in the tie. And I remember actually there was a couple of sort of Norwegian people who were onto me around that time saying, like, you know, this guy Jack Byrne, if he came to our league he'd be one of the top 3-4 players. They couldn't believe how good he was.
His football brain, Dan, as well is so good. And I think, like, I was chatting to him after the game the other night about young Ferjai, and he's like, the point Jack was trying to make is that he's listening. He is taking on board what we're saying to him, and that he's like a player who, and I think Bradley said the same, he's young, but you could see his attitude when he lost the ball. He worked really hard to get it back. Can you imagine Jack Byrne, Graham Burke and an improving Justin Ferjai in the one team? Like these will do serious things in Europe if they get going.
Gary O'Neill will be doing a lot of work in that
Gary
side.
O'Neill, like Gary O'Neill's a top.
A lot of work in that side.
Yeah, but Gary will.
Respected lads, but Gary would have to do a lot of.
Gary will be happy to say, I will watch you guys. I scored my goal in Europe this year.
1-0 to Brighton. They're now top of the league, with Pascal Gross scoring against Leeds, and there's a goal that Leicester scored to pull one back against Chelsea. So Chelsea 2, Leicester 1. Harvey Barnes on the mark at Stamford Bridge into the 72nd minute there now. Raheem Sterling with both goals for Chelsea, who've had Conor Gallagher sent off. Brentford 0, Everton 1, Anthony Gordon in the first half. Manchester City 2, Crystal Palace 2. So City were 2-0 down, but Erling Haaland has equalised for them. And Liverpool 7, Bournemouth 0, as we've been outlining throughout the show. So Liverpool with that confidence boosting first win of the Premier League season. Southampton 0, Manchester United 1 earlier on. In the Championship, latest scores, we have Sunderland 0, Norwich 1 a result. Blackburn 0, Stoke 1 is the latest scores. Blackpool 2, Bristol City 3. Cardiff 0, Preston 0. Huddersfield 2, West Brom 2. It is Hull 3, Coventry 1. As I speak, Manchester City have scored a third. These are always subject to VAR, but it's just flashed onto my screen there, and we'll see who the goal scorer is in a moment. So Manchester City have come from 2-0 down, as they did in the final day last season, to take the lead against Crystal Palace. Elsewhere in the Championship, Middlesbrough 2, Swansea 0. It is Millwall 0, Reading 1, Rotherham 1, Birmingham 0, Watford 2, QPR 2, Wigan 1, Burnley 3, and in Scotland it is Rangers, who had such a good week, are 3-0 up against Ross County. Kilmarnock 1, Motherwell 1, Aberdeen 4, Livingston 0, and St Mirren 1, Hibernian 0. These are the scores that are coming in. Let's check and see who got that City goal. Bernardo Silva got the first, Haaland got the second, and the third has gone to...
Haaland, is it?
It is Erling Haaland again.
Of course it is.
There we go. Title race is over.
Johnny Calla, 3:05.
This is Off the Ball Saturday on News Talk. We're back after this.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky. New boys Nottingham Forest face Spurs on Super Sunday. Live only on Sky Sports.
Screen Time with John Fardy.
This week on Screen Time, I talked to the very cool Idris Elba about his fondness for Ireland, The Wire, and his new movie Beast, which is all about a man fighting a lion, or something like that.
I think it's good to just really state, though, this isn't a man fighting a lion. This is a man running for his life.
Screen Time with John Fardy.
Listen and subscribe to the podcast now, or tune in this evening from 6
on News Talk.
Sometimes, life throws up unexpected events. That's why people choose Britain Insurance. Whether it's car, home, business or farm insurance, our dedicated team will ensure you get the best cover. And with a direct line to your team member, you know all the correct boxes are ticked. You're covered with Britain Insurance. Pat Britton and Company Limited, trading as Britain Insurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Tesco Club Card has the power to lower prices on back-to-school bits like Capri Sun 10-pack was €4.50, now €2. And Andrex toilet tissue 24 roll was €16.15, now €9. Plus Oreo twin pack was €2.89, now 75 cents. I can't stop them getting crumbs everywhere though. Nothing's that powerful. Lower the cost of your shop with your Tesco Club Card or app. The power to lower prices. Tesco. Every little helps. Product subject to availability. Excludes Express stores.
DoneDeal has the largest range of new cars in Ireland from Ireland's trusted premium car dealerships. That's why you will find Lexus BlackRock on DoneDeal. Visit Lexus BlackRock's showroom on DoneDeal today and connect with them for great 222 offers. DoneDeal for new car offers to feel great about from all of Ireland's trusted car dealerships.
We've squeezed 2 great offers into one great sale. Switch to Virgin Media now and enjoy 500 meg speeds as standard. That's ultra-fast and reliable broadband for just €40 a month for 12 months. Want to add great TV? Then get TV 360 for an extra €15 a month. Switch in-store or at virginmedia.ie. Virgin Media. Bring on amazing.
Subject to location and availability. New customers only. 12-month contract. 500 meg broadband, €70 a month after offer. Broadband and TV, €55 a month for 12 months. €99 thereafter. Ends October 5th, 2022. T's and C's apply. See virginmedia.ie.
Now at Power City, save €200 when you purchase any of the Whirlpool range of large capacity 4-door fridge freezers. The Whirlpool Jupiter range is frost-free and comes with a 5-year warranty. For more information, visit powercity.ie.
Change is in the air when it comes to solid fuels. New regulations will come into effect from the 31st of October this year, aimed at improving air quality for everyone. If you produce, sell or supply solid fuels, your business needs to prepare for the introduction of this new legislation. For more information and guidance on how to get ready, visit gov.ie/clean air. Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
Replenish, recharge, revitalise with new Clarence Super Restorative Day and Night, featuring a powerful plant-based duo including organic gorse and harringana extract, nature's alternative to retinol. By day, skin looks visibly lifted. By night, replenished. 90% of women said their skin felt smoother and replumped. New Super Restorative Day and Night. Visit a Clarence stockist for your complimentary consultation and sample, subject to availability. Clarence.
Dreaming of a Dyson, but don't want to pay up front? At Harvey Norman, you can buy any Dyson vacuum with 12 months interest-free finance. Get the latest Dyson V15 Absolute with laser technology that can detect dust you can't normally see. Now €699. Or get the Dyson V8 Absolute Cordless Vacuum. Sucks up pet hair, captures and filters dust particles for cleaner air and a cleaner home. Now only €399. Harvey Norman, your vacuum specialists.
Terms and conditions apply. See htn.ie/finance for details.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky. Watch Wolves take on Newcastle on Super Sunday. Live only on Sky Sports.
And you're welcome back to Off the Ball Saturday here on News Talk. John Duggan with you through as always until 5. Now, Off the Ball needs your help. We're currently recruiting for a survey. If you listen to us across any platform at least a couple of times a week, then we'd like to ask you some questions. You can sign up on Twitter, check out our pinned tweet, or if you're an Instagram user, check out our saved stories. We're also posting this across TikTok and Facebook. There's 3 separate prizes of €100 for grabs for anyone who takes part. Also, we have to bring you news of women's golf. So South Korea's Narin An leads by 2 shots at the halfway point of the CP Women's Open in Canada. She's at 13 under par after 2 rounds in Ottawa, ahead of a chasing back of 4 players, that including Americans Nelly Korda and Lindsay Duncan. Women's golf and OTB in association with KPMG, proudly supporting women in sport. Also earlier on today, the Irish women's team lost to Japan in that rugby international. So a great win in their first test, but they lost the second test in Tokyo. That was by just getting the score up there, 29 points to 10. In the Rugby Championship, New Zealand beaten at home by Argentina 25-18. Australia defeated South Africa by 25 points to 17. We also have football obviously going on at the moment, and the Belgian Grand Prix is on. That'll be on tomorrow. So Carlos Sainz taking pole. So that's interesting to see that. Verstappen quickest, but Sainz taking pole after a penalty. Vettel was out in the first session, Ricciardo out in the second. So that's what's coming through. All the times in qualifying from Spa. So Max Verstappen. And another goal for Liverpool. That is 8-0 now. And that is Fabio Carvalho with his first goal.
Yeah, it's a super goal, like a first-time volley after a sort of diagonal crossfield pass, and it's a one touch. I'm not sure, we'll see it now from the replay who teed it up for Carvalho, but yeah, he takes it sweetly first time.
Record's nearly there. 9-0 is the record. 10 minutes to equal it, or
surely get a couple of minutes injury time out of it as well. So
I know, it might be one of those where the ref just blows that as a mercy act at 91.
No, we all want to see history. Well, anybody who does support Bournemouth.
Yeah, so 8-0 to Liverpool against Bournemouth. We also have in the Premier League Man City 3, Crystal Palace 2 with Erling Haaland scoring twice. Chelsea 2, Leicester 1. It is Brighton 1, Leeds 0 and Brentford 0, Everton 1. Earlier on, Man United beat Southampton by 1-0. The team's in for Arsenal against Fulham. Arsenal 4-2-3-1 with Ramsdale in goal. Ben White, Saliba, Magalhaes and Tierney. We have El Neni, who comes into the team today with Xhaka. And then we have Saka, Odegaard and Martinelli with Gabriel Jesus up front. So Tierney and El Neni coming into the Arsenal team today. For Fulham, 4-2-3-1 as well. Shane Duffy on the bench. Bernd Leno, former Arsenal, well, he's a loanee, isn't he, is in goal. Tete, Adarabio, Ream and Robinson. We also have Harrison Reed and Paulinho are in the middle in the holding positions. Then the more forward midfielders, Cabano, Naskins Cabano, Andres Pereira and Bobby De Cordova-Reid behind Alexander Mitrovic. Loved his winner there against Brentford last week. A brilliant, like classic number 9 goal for Mitrovic, who started the season well, but it's Manchester City who are top at the moment.
He doesn't maybe get that much coverage because Liverpool are so good. But was it Simicast there?
Yeah, it was Simicast.
What an assist! Like that, like
well,
the ball in mid-air and like absolutely brilliant. And yeah, it looks like we've about 12 minutes here, JD, for this record to be. It's the only thing remotely really interesting about the game now. Will the record be broken?
On your mention of Mitrovic being the classic centre forward, that present me with a segue to say thank you for my lovely
no,
programme?
I'd be nearly waiting a year to give it to you because I went to the Aston Villa game, which is the week that Jimmy Greaves died at White Hart Lane, the New Hart Lane last October. So. We got a couple of programmes, so I haven't seen you since then, so we brought it in.
Yeah, it's lovely. It's a great picture, isn't it?
He was the man, Jimmy Greaves, like one of the
certainly
greatest
was,
footballers post-war in England.
Although my young fella, I was upstairs. I was upstairs when we got the goal against Wolves last weekend, and my young fella was down watching it, and all I could hear from shouting from the bottom of the stairs was, "Yes, Dad, yes, 16 to go." He's obsessed with Harry Kane trying to break Jimmy Greaves' goal-scoring record for Spurs. "Yes, Dad, 16 to go." So he probably will break it, won't he? Well, he definitely will break it. It's whether he breaks it this year or not, really.
And you mentioned Mitrovic. 2 of Mark Travers' worst days in football were involving Mitrovic and this one. And he's going to have to just learn from these experiences. This is not a good day.
Connemara's Harry Kane.
Yeah, it's just been...
That's right.
Like poor old Travers. I mean, I was writing today about how he done very well in the previous games, and they put him up because they signed Neto from Barcelona, and some people were thinking, "Oh, what does this mean for Travers?" But Bournemouth people seem pretty happy with him, and they even put
on the back of this.
They put him up to do some press even because Neto played midweek against Norwich, but they put Travers up. I was listening to an interview he did yesterday just about playing tough teams, and you have to accept you're going to concede goals against some of the best players in the world and show your mental strength to sort of bounce back from them. But I don't know. I mean, there'll probably be 2 goals he'll be a little bit sick about here, probably in the 8, but some people will just look at the 8 and say who's in goals, which is a very basic way of looking at it. But
all of this doesn't matter if they win 1-0 next week and he plays well. This game is junk time.
It's worrying though. They've been shipping a lot of goals.
Yeah.
It's funny how some teams can survive the championship and get through, and then some.
Well, they didn't. But the warning signs were for Bournemouth before the start of the season when Parker was talking about they didn't really bring in players, and again, it's a bit like Leicester or something.
There's no
9-0. They've equalled their record. Luis Diaz, Liverpool 9, Bournemouth 0. Unbelievable stuff.
They're gonna like Liverpool played Fulham and like were really struggling to get out and out of the game, and Fulham were like what were they? Basically the same points as Bournemouth last season, and Bournemouth look like a team coming from League 2. It's going to be 10, JD.
I do feel sorry for Travers there now.
4 goals for Manchester City, by the way, against Crystal Palace. Now 4-2 they lead, having been 2-0 down, and Erling Haaland has got his hat-trick.
Of course he has. Klopp genuinely looked embarrassed there when the cameras went to him, didn't it? I don't know. I thought he looked like enough is enough here, almost, to be honest with you.
He's that kind of decent man as well.
Second or third they've conceded from corner now, isn't it?
Like, Luis Diaz should not be scoring a header from a corner.
Zonal, is it zonal? I think Bournemouth are set up zonally, and it's just gotten done twice, like, isn't it?
So Luis Diaz with 2, Roberto Firmino with 2, Harvey Elliott, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Virgil van Dijk.
How have they scored 9 goals and Salah hasn't scored?
That's insane, right? Because that reminds me.
To be clear to the listener, it's only because Shane cares about fantasy football.
Salah, captain in fantasy football, they've scored 9 goals and he's done nothing. How is that possible?
I said this before, right? When Man United won 9-0, I hate Man United, but I had Kanchelskis in my fantasy football team. So it's like there's a bit of consolation here. He not only didn't score, he didn't have 1 assist, right? But I think Salah not scoring in a 9-0 win usurps that.
And of course, add that to the fact that if you didn't pick Salah as captain, you've picked Haaland as captain. I'm in trouble here, aren't I?
Bournemouth are taking it to the corner flag here. They're actually just took
as Linfield should have done.
More supporters who've gone up to Anfield.
As Linfield should have done, Johnny.
Has anyone seen anything like that Linfield thing? I don't know if you saw the video.
No,
JD.
I just to let you know, by the way, Brentford have equalised against Everton. Vitaly Janelt laid on in London.
I don't know how you haven't seen this, John. I mean, this is Linfield, the biggest game in their history to get into the group stages to join Shamrock Rovers. They're 1-0 up going into the 120th minute on Thursday night. This is after the first leg where they were 2-0 up going to the 89th minute and conceded 2 goals in stoppage time. But it was a draw, so they get to bring it back to their own place. They dominate the game. They eventually go 1-0 up in the 104th minute, 120th minute, 4-on-1. Like it's a 4-on-1. The Latvians have pretty much given up. They've stopped. They overplay it. Or not overplay it, they actually probably take the right option, but the guy has a weak shot.
All he needs to do is square it.
A weak shot into the goalkeeper's hands. Riga break. Diagonal pass, probably not dissimilar to the Trent one we've seen previously, across into the box.
A nothing cross.
And their captain, the Linfield captain, slices the ball into his own goal off the crossbar. It goes to penalties. They miss the first 2 penalties because their heads are gone. And that's it. Game over.
Bear in mind, Linfield didn't even need to score when they broke 4-on-1. Like. They were through.
How much money is that going to cost them?
A lot.
3 million euro.
I think, was
it? Yeah, and the difference between they've probably, but like say 2 million quid.
This sounds like one of these 30 for 30. It's a 3 million game.
Honestly, I don't know how you recover from something like that. And David Healy's the manager, and you see him after.
Involved. Chris Shields in midfield.
But you see Healy afterwards coming out for the press. I'm sure you've done like tough press stuff, but you just, how do you explain this? Because they've done everything right, yet effectively, like, I don't know how you describe it.
That was his worst moment in football.
Well, now I'd make a point there. Maybe it's because I wear rosy tinted glasses because I am such a fan of him, but he was off the field when it happened.
He got injured. Chris Shields got injured.
And I genuinely think he would have roared at somebody to run the ball to the corner flag if he'd been on the field.
And like, okay, the Irish League is miles behind the League of Ireland, right? And that's not, there's no shame in that because of the population and all that, but it's definitely making progress. There's a real buzz around a lot of the grounds. It's getting better, and this would have been a really, like, a crowning moment for the Irish League to be in a group stage for the first time, albeit an awful lot of Northern Irish football supporters would not want Linfield. There's a lot of Glentoran Schadenfreude on Instagram laughing at the fan.
That's bad. That's bad.
I'd say anyone look at the video, John, the 20 seconds or so, 30 seconds, because there was one a couple of years ago. Remember Troy Deeney, the Watford one?
That was remarkable. That was sensational.
Missed penalty and counter attack.
I think this is worse.
Yeah,
I think this is worse.
It was
I was doing a roadshow. We're going to play at the roadshow, the race meet Ger Lyons, Johnny Mert and Rob Carney in the Davenport Hotel last night. That's why I didn't see this. So
yeah,
we're going to play that out next week.
I think it's possibly worse when you consider the stakes involved. You know, I don't know. Maybe like you can argue that the toss on that, but. Maybe because you have
the first rule though. You take it to the corner flag.
But it's a 4-on-1. I mean,
Liverpool against Arsenal 1989. They could have taken it to the corner flag. They didn't.
I'd say, but if they'd taken it to the corner flag with the 4-on-1, I mean, it would have been a little bit ridiculous. Like. Even just the shot.
Should have done. They should have scored. He should have put it out. They should have scored a goal.
But even if he put it out of play, it was just the weak shot into the goalkeeper's hands. If he'd gone even for too much power, it would have at least gone over the bar. But I mean,
and just on the team of Europe, Dan brought this up in the newsletter. When I was in When I was at the Dundalk Alkmaar
game. You want to explain what the newsletter is?
The newsletter is Dan's kind of, what would you call it, like his stream of consciousness.
It's his missile to the public.
But it's free, and everyone likes to get free stuff from the media, unfortunately. But anyway, it's free, right? People don't like to pay. They generally do not like to pay. Anyway, so he made the point, Man United are clashing with Shamrock Rovers. Over to you, Pubs, what do you show? It's got to be Shamrock Rovers, hasn't it?
Well, no, you can have two TVs, but it's
Liverpool players gone down in the box. Is there going to be a penalty?
Bizarrely, I didn't even mention that in my newsletter, so I'm a little bit perplexed by that. But
maybe you put it on Twitter. Anyway, yeah.
The fixtures don't come out today.
I did see it on Twitter.
The six Shamrock Rovers games are going to clash with the 6 Manchester United games. So that is, I remember.
But surely Pubs now about 3 or 4 TVs.
That's
anyway,
it,
so,
like, yeah.
Yes, everybody should be able to be accommodated.
The anecdotal tales. Oh, I tell you, they were watching the Shamrock Rovers game.
So basically, people may not. There's a VAR shout for a penalty here.
9-0 to Liverpool. They've equalled Man United's record from 1995 against Ipswich. They're playing Bournemouth. There's 4 minutes of stoppage time.
Friend of the show, Julian Canny.
Have Leicester not equalled that record when they beat Southampton away 9-0?
Yeah.
Or does the first person who got it sort of claim it?
No, it's just because I forgot the second one.
Okay, John, sorry. I wasn't trying to draw attention to that. Like
coming to the end of the show.
It was just more like does the first person.
I always admit my mistakes.
Yeah.
Friend of the show, Julian Canny, got in touch. JD said that is not offside. You have to literally barge the defender out of the way from an offside position.
53106, great show today, boys, says Adrian. Thank you, Adrian. I sense Liverpool were going to win big today, says one of our texters, so I triple captain Mo Salah. Unbelievable, says Stephen in Cork.
And Haaland has scored a hat-trick.
Feels worse than me.
Haaland has scored a hat-trick.
You did that a few minutes ago, John.
I've just completely
zoned out.
Haaland is going to be the top scorer this season, I think it's safe to say, bar an injury.
So a lot of American football fans are in Dublin. Great to see them for Northwestern against Nebraska. Could we be doing more as football people to have more of an experience around games? You know, like the tailgating.
I love that in the States. Even though obviously it's dreadful for the climate, but when you go to a game and you drive, everyone drives to these football games in the States. They make it a day out. They have a barbecue in the car park beforehand. And it's great crack. The game almost becomes an aside. And I think League of Ireland clubs definitely have to improve their what they have for fans other than the game itself. And Terryland has, last mention ago United, Terryland has upped its stakes dramatically by installing a bar under the main stand, and people were enjoying themselves. And it was notable that the atmosphere was far better in the second half than the first half last night.
But it's true. But like, the broader point, like match day experience is no doubt like. But it has to be something that suits you. Like you can go to some of the Premier League grounds. Like I've been at Southampton, say, and like some of these stadiums are sort of a bit characterless. You know, they've a lot of these stadiums have been created to the same sort of template, and they're missing something. You know, it's like sort of going to the cinema or something in some cases, rather than this real big sort of, I don't know, intensity. You can't, I don't know, can you manufacture that? You know, like Ferencváros was intense, but that's very natural. It sounds like the new Spurs stadium, like they've done something with it to try.
They've got the acoustics are amazing, but also the sad stand is more like a bit like the Kop. It's got a slant on it.
Yeah, but it's there. Like football is, I don't know, like what can you do to? Yeah, I mean, you add more around the match day, but you're still like the football's traditions are quite deeply rooted. I don't know. I don't know. People wouldn't if people said when the Sky Sports came in at first to the Premier League, like they Americanised it. Remember they had the cheerleaders at half time, and they dropped all of that eventually because it wasn't really it. You know, it's not football.
We want each player's theme song playing anytime they score a goal and all of that.
Liverpool 9, Bournemouth 0. 3 times it's been done before, by the way. 95 Man United against Ipswich, 2019 Leicester, Southampton, and 2021 Man United, Southampton. Never 10-0, never 10.
There is an urgency about Liverpool.
It's going to be 10.
I've got a minute, less than a minute to do it. Liverpool 9.
Seconds.
They've been trying hard for the last couple of minutes. You can see an urgency about them. What's this?
So Klopp went over to kind of give Parker a sort of a hug, as if to say it's all right, mate. It's nearly over.
Yeah.
But what Bournemouth obviously need not to do is what Linfield did the other night.
Yeah, so we got games coming to the close in the Premier League. Brentford 1, Everton 1, Brighton 1, Leeds 0. Great start to the season for Brighton. Chelsea 2, Leicester 1 with 10 men. Man City 4, Crystal Palace 2, and Liverpool 9, Bournemouth 0. Arsenal against Fulham kicks off at 5:30. Yeah, so we got matches tomorrow as well. Villa and West Ham. We have Wolves. Did Salah have assists? I don't think he did.
No, he didn't.
So that's incredible from a fantasy footballer. You couldn't have written a more dramatic script than that.
I'm aware.
And Rangers and Celtic, you got the tattoo still in your arm. They're playing Real Madrid in the Champions League. That'll be a good one for the boys too.
I'm already starting to hunt around and see if it would be possible to get one of those.
Yeah.
All right, home or away. I'd love
full time. Liverpool 9, Bournemouth 0, equaling the record. 4th time it's been done in the Premier League. And great win for Liverpool today, but worrying times for Bournemouth as Liverpool get their first win of the season.
Derby, Billy, who brought you back to Cork last week, he'll be happy. Derby have come from behind in League One to beat Peterborough today. Jason Knight has scored. That's raising that up.
Well, somebody texted in, would you worry for Jason Knight's future?
I'm just surprised. Now, he is out of contract next season, so unless at the end of this season, unless he's been advised to keep his options very open. And David McGoldrick, I should say, got the winning goal as well. He's still going. Yeah, but Jason Knight. I thought he would move, but there you go. I think Stephen Kenny thought he would move. I think a lot of people thought he would move. Here we are. The window closes next week and he hasn't.
South Korea's Naranan leading by 2 shots at the halfway point of the CP Women's Open in Canada. 13 under par after 2 rounds in Ottawa, ahead of a chasing pack of 4 players, including Americans Nelly Korda and Lindy Duncan. Women's Golf and OTB in association with KPMG, proudly supporting women in sport. Full times in the Premier League coming in. Liverpool 9, Bournemouth 0 is a result. Latest scores: Man City 4, Crystal Palace 2, Chelsea 2, Leicester 1, Brighton 1, Leeds 0, Brentford 1, Everton 1. Earlier on, Man United beat Southampton by 1-0. In the Championship, it finished Sunderland 0, Norwich 1, Blackburn 0, Stoke 1. Latest scores: Blackpool 3, Bristol City 3, Huddersfield 2, West Brom 2, Hull 3, Coventry 2, Middlesbrough 2, Swansea 1, Millwall 0, Reading 1, Rotherham 2, Birmingham 0, Watford 2, QPR 3 and Wigan 1, Burnley 5, and a result: Cardiff 0, Preston 0. In Scotland, it finished Rangers 4, Ross County 0, St Mirren 1, Hibs 0, Kilmarnock 2, Motherwell 1 and Aberdeen 5, Livingston 0. Dan, Johnny and Shane, thanks so much for this afternoon, folks.
Cheers, JD.
Love the chat. And don't forget, folks, Off the Ball is back tomorrow 1 to 7 here on News Talk. Joe Molloy is in the chair as always. 2 live and exclusive Premier League commentary games to bring you. So Dave McIntyre and Kenny Cunningham will bring you the call on the match between Wolves and Newcastle. That kicks off at 2. Then Stephen Doyle and Keith Tracy describing the 4:30 kick-off between Nottingham Forest and Tottenham Hotspur. That is all on the FM. There's also the Sunday paper review across the OTB digital and social channels from 11:30 with Cullum Keys and Gavin Casey. So be sure to join us tomorrow for some great commentaries and conversation. Just checking the Premier League scores. Are they getting to full time? Any other matches gone in? Yeah, all of them pretty much in now. Chelsea 2, Leicester 1, a result. Brentford 1, Everton 1 is a result. Man City 4, Palace 2 still playing, and Brighton 1, Leeds 0 still playing as well. So that's the paper review and the details of our commentaries tomorrow. If you missed any of the Saturday panel on Pregnancy in Sport with Louise Galvin, Olive Loughnane and Helen Keeble, or any of OTB Football Saturday with Shane Keegan, Dan McDonnell and Johnny Ward, you can find the podcast of our content on the OTB Sports app, or be sure to listen back, folks, wherever you get your pods. Thanks so much for listening to us on your radio here on News Talk today. We'll speak soon. Bye-bye.